Yo, what's up, everybody? How we all doing? Back on Twitch. We're here. We're live. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? We had a lot of folks in here early. Ray Zona Rossi in here first. I see y'all. Electro Jesus. Hey, welcome, everybody. Well, you counting the days, huh, Shells? I see you. Hey, everybody, welcome. We had a lot of folks in here before I got in here, so let me run this back. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you're coming from. Hope you all are doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Hey, Scipio, thank you. We all back. Gang's all here. Hold on, let me get in here real quick. There were a lot of folks even like during our Twitch hiatus. Dak, I saw you. Art of Missy, thank you so much. Cookie Codes, thank you so much. MB with the 7 months, let's go. Sheenan with the 9 months. Thanks for everything, Leon. 100 devs members, exactly. We all out here. Wonderfilled for the resilient again. Hey, thank you, Wonderfilled, with the 8 months. Hype train already before we even got live. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. That kid Neptune with the 7 months. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone in Leon. I peeped the slides and I got all this money, gave it straight to my mama. I always put that as the bar. I almost put that as a bar, a little baby song when they say that too. Because I was debating between Little Baby and Fox, and they both kind of have the same lyrics. So, hey, Sheena, thank you for the 100 bits. Booty Liquor back in the house with 7 months. Hey, Booty Liquor, how you been? Whew, it's too much, folks. Too much. Hey, Brian, I did it. Hey, thank you for the 6 months. Telescope Thieves with the 8 months. You're in the slides. Just so you know, you're in the slides tonight. It was in a public channel, so you made it to the slides. And hey, Reggie with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate that. We're back, folks. We're back. Thank you, Reggie. And Secret Ply 2 with the 100 bits. I love that name. Thank you so much. Hey, what's good, K-Cos? Welcome. K-Cos with the 10 months. That's the first 10 months I've seen. That's wild, y'all. 10 months. Imagine that. Happy Tuesday. So happy to have class again. Hey, Kat. Glad you're here. Softest. Hey, I see you. Thank you so much. Oh, folks. Subtoast with the 8 months. Thank you so much. And Cole with the 5 months. Let's go. I can't keep up, folks. This is wild. This is what happens when we're not on Twitch for 2 weeks. My back hurts. Hey, Leon, good to see you. Good to see you too. My back hurts. Hope you're doing well. Sorry, folks. We're going to get it out of our system. It's been a little while since we've been on here, so if people are popping off, I appreciate it. Brian, I got my first haircut in a year and a half yesterday. Hey, welcome to the club. Hold on. I got a slide for y'all. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. Let's get close. Hey, I'm right there with you, Brian. Had my first haircut in a year and a half, and the first time I've been to a restaurant in a year and a half. That was wild to like be out in public with other people. I don't know. Hey, Memphis, glad you're here. Electro Jesus looks 10 years younger. I'll take it. Daddy Yankee said pho. Close. We went to like a Thai restaurant. I'm all about the noodles. Hope it was Olive Garden. Got my hair cut today without a mask. It was weird. I feel you. It's interesting to be around people again. Just made it in the building, number 50. Let's go, Green. That's right, folks. This is class 50. What? Class 50. What? I mean, it's class 50, but think about all of the Friday sessions, all of the Sunday sessions. We've been together for a long time. Has to be close to, like, we're pushing 100 probably with all the extra stuff. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for showing up time and time again. Thanks for pushing yourself as you get through all this learning. Couldn't have picked a better group. This is my first official Twitch stream. Finally caught up. Hey, Bemi, that's great. Good to hear you. And got your first contract this weekend? Let's go. Let's go. Catching up and getting the contract? Let's go. Looks like that Peloton is paying off. Hey, I'm just gonna say, I'm today officially 18 pounds down. Just gonna throw that out there. 18 down. Let's go. You know you're doing good when you gotta like take pictures of the scale. So is my scale's reflective too. It's a weird thing that, you know, get the receipts, but you gotta get them, and so it was a problem for a second, but I got it. 18 pounds down, folks. We had a lot of other folks in here with the subs. I'll just make sure I don't miss anybody. Cole with the 5 months, Medium and Fry with the 6 months, Bob with the 4 months, and MGZ with the 6 months. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. First Twitch and coffee chat today. Critty A. I like to hear that, Clark. Gotta get the Peloton. The Peloton is like, I've actually just been walking more. That's the what? Hold on. Memphis found a client too, building a full stack educational website with tons of features on a low budget, but still doing it to provide some value. Hey, Memphis, glad you got a client. Wow, job, client, let's go. And Anonymous, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Y'all got me in my feels today. People joining us, getting clients. This is wild. This is the best thing I could have ever asked for real. Y'all out here putting in good work, getting shit done, getting clients, getting jobs. Let's go. I'm proud of y'all, really. I love Are you Alex from Uno? Oh, if you missed the Uno tournament, you missed out. We had almost, I think it was like 65 people in the end on Friday. It was serious, folks. People were putting in work. You missed the pro-am. Hopefully it was a lot of fun. Shout out to BT for bringing it home. BT already got the cash prize, but the trophy's on the way too. It was rigged. Votes and logs. Hey, Izzy with the 10 months. Glad you're here. All right, folks. We're getting it out of our system here. We got a level 5 hype train out the gate. That's wild. So happy you're here. Letting folks get in the building here, and we're gonna get into it. I lost the winners and made me feel a bit better. There you go. Jeezy, get out of here. Had to watch the Hawks. Hey, gotta do what you gotta do, right? All right, folks. Got a lot of fun stuff to get to tonight. A lot of the last bits of cheat codes that I can give you. That's what we're getting to tonight. We're going to talk about kind of this week and next week, and we're going to start wrapping it up, folks. We don't got that many more classes left. We ain't going nowhere. We got lots of time to help y'all with your interviews and all that wonderful stuff. But the formal classes, we're almost there, folks. Whew, almost there. So let's get into it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for showing up. Let's start getting into these secrets and talking about what we're going to go through today. BT, hold on. Can I do that through here? Hold on. Can I Blah. I don't know if Blah can do it. Let's give BT VIP. Can I do it through here? VIP. Okay, I'm gonna go to do it like that. Hold on, folks. Trying to do something here. BT, try posting again. I want to see if you had the VIP badge. They took home the cash prize. They took home the trophy soon, and they got VIP. So there we go. Alrighty, folks. Let's get into it. Oh yeah, BT got the pillowcase as well. So we did some other raffles. We did the sleep with Leon raffle and the shower with Leon raffle. If you don't know what that means, it's been a while. But they are the pillow and the shower sandals. So we gave away those for raffles, and there were cash prizes for the winners. There's a trophy going home and VIP. But we're going to have another game night. So if you missed this one and you want to get in on the gaming goodness, we'll be having another one not too far in the future. So we're going to do another one. All right, folks. Let me chill the music here. What game? So I've been looking at a couple, but we'll make it a poll, and then whatever people answer in the poll, that's what we'll do. So this one we played Uno, and Uno was like a 4-person one, which is great, but it's hard because I have to manage the whole bracket myself. But we were throwing around chess and checkers and some other fun stuff. So I think checkers might be it like most people can pick up checkers. It's not something you have to kind of like, you can if you want to nerd out about it, but I think for most folks, or Connect 4, that might be a good one. CeeLo, get out of here, is he? the 100 devs classic pro-am celebrity CeeLo tournament. Yeah. No worries, Miriam. No smart people games. Yeah, I think we'll do something where it's like anyone can play, and so that's why I liked Uno. We're gonna find something like that. Maybe checkers. That's what I've been tossing around. Maybe like a one-on-one type one. We might run back an Uno tournament later on, but yeah. 100 Dev Flip Cup. Hey, let's go. All right. So tonight, we're going to do our normal questions if you have questions. We're going to talk about all the tea that was spilt last week. We had, I think it was like, we almost hit 200 people in the classroom, which is wild because normally we have like 100 in the classroom. But I saw it go over 190, and I think it almost hit 200 for the Tuesday session where I had 2 of my previous students from RC they gave it all out. Company names, salaries, interview process, everything was laid out. So we didn't record it. We did it on Remo because it was too much tea for Twitch. Don't want that getting out there. But a lot was shared. So kudos to everyone that showed up for that Tuesday class. Tonight is going to continue that energy. I'm going to talk about the things that my students have done to really lock down the technical interviews. Over the past 2 weeks or so, I've been meeting with folks one-on-one. I got lots of feedback to give folks. Those videos, most of them have been recorded. It's just getting them uploaded. I want to do them as like private listings. So the feedback will be going out tonight and tomorrow for the first few folks that did it. And then throughout the rest of the week, more people are getting their feedback. For folks that are doing Mega Month June, they've been meeting with me one-on-one, and I record myself going through all their stuff and send them a video. So that's coming to folks that did it with me so far. But based on what I've been seeing in these one-on-ones, I wanted to cover some last bit of tips and tricks on how to get through the interview process. And in a lot of these interviews, I've showed folks a process and they're like, kind of like, what? Like, that's how you do it. So I want to make sure everyone feels on the same page, that you have those last cheat codes to secure the technical interview and do well. And so that's what we're going to go through tonight. We had some other folks get in here. Hey, Jarrett, with the 6 months, thank you so much. Sleek Like That with the 7 months, thank you so much for both being here. Hope you're doing well. So that's the goal tonight. I want to actually walk through a technical interview, show you how I would solve the interview, how I coach my students to go through these interviews, and how I've been coaching folks in these one-on-ones. I think it's really important information, and I want you all to see it and benefit from it. Then we're going to start dusting into data structures and algorithms to get that stuff percolating. Thursday and Friday, we have something special, and then we're coming back to React. Since we have a lot of folks that are starting to interview, I wanted to get this class out of the way because I think it's that important, and I want folks to have this information as they're starting to lock down their interviews. So a little bit of a pause this week. Got some surprises that we're going to talk about for Thursday and Friday, and then we're back to React for Tuesday and Thursday of next week. But so many people are kind of in the throes of starting to get interviews that I felt it was too important to kind of wait this portion of stuff to next week. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I should have interviewed earlier so I can see what a bad interview really looks like. Hey, I'm telling y'all, folks, you're ready. You're ready. Astro Charles, hey, thank you for the 2 months. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. I got you, Telescope. Are the one-on-ones via Google Hangout? They are. Yeah, so you get a follow-up message with a Google Hangout link. Bobby Lynn, hey, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that. All right. So we're going to discuss the T. We're going to talk through some of the homework that's coming up. We're going to quickly review learning how to learn, just the 2 big things that we always talk about. We're going to do a vomity tour through data structures and algorithms, just like the really high level stuff, the make the nerds angry because we're not going into the detail stuff. So you can start processing and start using that when you start tackling your technical questions. We're going to talk about some data structures, and your homework this week is going to be around starting to tackle some of the more complex data structures on your own. That way we can eventually get them together. So that's kind of what we're breaking down tonight. We're going to spend some time talking, looking at an actual interview question or two, and then getting into data structures and algorithms so that the folks that are starting the interview can start using those tools and strategies right away. And if you're going to be interviewing in the near future, you now have a better way to start preparing as you get into that season. Once again, just had to, highlight the glow up. It's been a while since I've been able to go to the barber. I'm glad I'm back. There's a lot to do. What should be mainly focusing on to get the job? Learning React, 100 hours project, or 10 premium apps? Your 100 hours project first, your 10 premium apps second, and then React. If folks came to Tuesday, you know why that order is important. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But as always, I want to open up. It's been a little while since we've been on here on Twitch. I know everyone isn't able to join us in the Remo classroom, so I want to open up for some questions. If there's no questions, we're going to talk about Tuesday's class, why it was important, and why that order is the way it is. Yep, 100 hours project, 10 premium apps, React, exactly. So, questions. It's been a minute. I got my water over here, bringing back the big boy. There we go. Aha. All right. Actually, I'm going to put it on this side. I agree they were great, right? What should we do about references if they ask for a reference in the 100 Devs company? So if you're doing Mega Month June, I am your reference. If you're at that stage where you're looking for references and we haven't done our one-on-one yet, you have to let me know. But once folks get their first round of feedback from the Mega Month June one-on-ones, I will be sharing a link with each of those folks for a private calendar where people can schedule reference calls with me. I can't do them until I've actually talked to you one-on-one, got to know you a little bit better, right? See where you're at, the things that you're working on. But once you get that first round of feedback from me, everything's in a crispy order. You'll also get a private calendar link that you can share with folks for references. And so I will be picking up the phone. I will be talking to those people on your behalf, singing your praises, talking about your projects, the hard work that you've done. So I am your reference, but you have to have done the one-on-one with me first. What about a second reference? Maybe someone that was on your team, right? If you did the team project, or somebody else that you know in the 100 Devs community that can attest to you. But yeah. Hey, thank you for the anonymous gifted sub, whoever did that. Appreciate you. I have a phone chat screening for a senior dev role, but how do I lay a foundation for a job I can see myself into 1-3 years? So like you're seeing these senior roles, like how do you get ready for them? So you're gonna learn so much in your first job. It's wild. The things that you will learn in your first job will propel you into those more senior roles, right? So the idea is that the thing you should be maximizing in your first job, yes, salary and all those things are great, but the ability for you to learn, right? The ability for you to grow as an engineer, to get the support that you need to grow so that your next few companies, you can do bigger and better things. You can go for those senior roles, you can go for a better salary. But that first role, you're really looking for to really get your feet wet, to really push yourself and learn for the first year. And that's where honestly a lot of students mess up, is they get that first job and they kind of stop. Right? They were doing all this hard work, they were studying, they were pushing, they kind of get the job and they slow down a little bit. That first job is not a slow down point, it's a speed up point. It's documenting everything you touch, really pushing yourself to learn the stack that you're learning. I can almost guarantee you that the job that you get will include nothing that we've done here at 100 Devs. Like, yeah, the big concepts, yeah, some JavaScript, but you all are going to be using different tech, different stacks, and you're going to have to learn it very quickly. So one of the things I hope that you took away from this program is not necessarily the things that we like actually coded, but the belief and the idea that you can learn quickly and that you have tools that you've been practicing to learn the things that you need to learn on the job. And that's so important, right? That first job is where you're going to really push yourself and have support and direct mentors and kind of your higher ups that can guide the code that you're writing. Lena said, hey, I attended your bootcamp for 2 months last year. What should I do to catch up? I completely stopped studying. I would like to come back. Excellent question. So I'm in the process of uploading, like literally it is uploading right now, the front end and the back end crash courses. It's been a while. I had to like edit them a little bit just to like not have the weird starting gaps, and I put like a like an intro from me on front of them. So those 2 videos will go up hopefully tonight if they're done like uploading tonight, or early tomorrow. And if you check !100 devs, that'll tell you everything you need to do to kind of get caught up. So leonnoel.com/100 devs, or just !100 devs in here in chat will have what you need. So that'll get updated as soon as those videos go up, but that's where I recommend that you start. But when I tell them I'm looking to learn, that's a red flag. Yes, that comes up when you're negotiating the offer. Yeah. And we talked a little bit better ways to kind of say like I'm looking for mentorship. There's they're like cheekier ways to ask that. So like, what is the team dynamic like? How are code reviews conducted within the team? Like, there are cheekier ways of saying, hey, I'm new and I want a lot of help, right? There are things that we can ask that are a little bit more in line. So Hit asked, any time for a coffee chat? So the rest of this month, Hit, I have booked like if I could show y'all my calendar, your jaws would drop. I have one-on-one scheduled with literally hundreds of people this month. Like no cap, over 100 people one-on-one this month. And so I don't have any more time for them this month, but I'll be reopening my calendar like the old days starting next month. Hi, I'm 16. I've been coding since I was 12. I can make full stack apps. Am I job ready out of high school? Yeah, why not? If you can already write code. Definitely watch our earlier interview videos on how to interview, and then come to our Discord and ask questions. All right. Looking through here. Roya, hey, thank you for the 8 months. That's wild. Spliff, thank you for the 8 months. And hey, Reggie, thank you for the 1 month gifted sub. I appreciate y'all. Cool. All right. Thank you for those. Are some good questions. Y'all popped off. I like those questions. All right. Before we get into the thick of it, we got some congratulations in order. We said them during the Remo class, but I wanted to put them in the slides. I think it's important. Congrats to Sam. They just landed their new role, head of content strategy and marketing at Hashnode. Like, that's wild sauce. Congrats, Sam. That's wild. So if you all are not following Sam on Twitter, they're literally the best person I've ever seen go from 0 to 60 in terms of networking on Twitter. It is literally a master class in what you should be doing to build your network. And their Twitter is this link right here in the slides. So you can do !! slides if you need them, but that's the link. How are you? Hey, thank you for the raid. How are y'all doing? What are you up to tonight? We're just getting started over here. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. We're just thanking some folks and celebrating some folks that got a job. So Sam was one of our OGs, and now they have a wonderful new job. Welcome. Thank you for the raid. What were y'all working on tonight? What were y'all up to? Hey, Sam in chat. Hey, there you go. Congrats. It's huge. We sung your praises on Tuesday, but glad you're here to see it in the slides. Speed limit, we upload everything onto YouTube after the fact. So you can see all the VODs here immediately, and then they get loaded to YouTube a little bit later. All right. Congrats, Sam. You deserve it. And congrats to OCC. So Old Coder Chick, they're on vacation this week, but they're the newest member of the stream team. So you're going to be noticing them posting in the stream team channel on Discord. Definitely have an amazing stream. Like, you're missing out if you haven't followed them yet. We're going to do a raid next week when they're back from vacation, but I wanted to throw it in the slides. It's amazing to have another person in the stream team. Somebody else is going to give you a different perspective in learning how to code. It's beautiful. If you're trying to find Sam Softest, if you just click this link right there, it'll take you to Sam's Twitter. So congrats, Sam. Crushing it. Congrats, OCC. Let's go. And folks, they're back. They're back, folks. This Thursday and this Friday, Microsoft's coming on back, sponsoring another stream. So it's getting wild. Giving out some Azure credit like normal. Doing some raffles like normal. And we're doing, I got another big one. We're doing another laptop. Green, I hope the folk you gave that laptop to is doing well with it. Yeah, so Thursday, popping off again, another sponsored stream, all the goods, another laptop, wild stuff. And the beautiful thing, pie with the holy moly. Yes. Thank you so much for the 9 months pie. Hope you're doing well. So Thursday and Friday, we're doing sponsored streams, giving away all the goods. But the beautiful thing is, Microsoft came to me and was like, what can we do to like support y'all? Like, what do y'all need? What do you need to do? And the thing that we came up with is that people are looking for another portfolio piece, right? You have your client projects or your open source project or your volunteer project. That's a big one. You have your team project, which is a big one. You have your 100 hours project, was a big one. Like your portfolio, if you've been following along, is already stacked. But we want another like showstopper. And I've talked a lot about these 10 premium apps. And so what we do on Thursday, you will be able to adapt to knock the socks off of any company that you apply for. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want to give away any surprises. I don't want to give away anything more than that. But the idea of Thursday's class is that we're going to build something that you can tweak to any company that you apply for to stand out. It's going to be huge. It's going to make your application better than anyone else's. So that's what we're doing on Thursday, and we'll probably need some time on Friday to finish it up as well. So this is based on what I've been seeing as I'm talking to folks one-on-one, right? As we're getting through the mega month and we're doing those one-on-one conversations. One of the things that came up is like, let's get another portfolio piece just to really knock the socks off of folks. And so we're going to have that. We're gonna hype up Christos as well. We don't get got. We go get. Thank you, Shells. Exactly. We don't get got. We go get. Right? So the idea here is that I have the Pix video with a Microsoft shout out. Hey, that's awesome, Green. So the cool thing is this Thursday, come on back. We're building a portfolio piece that is beautiful, that you definitely want in your portfolio. So that's what we're doing on Thursday. Shout out to Microsoft. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for the swag. Thank you for the credit. Thank you for the money so that we can do these wilder raffles like the laptops and stuff like that. So thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it. Really do. We need to do it live. Well, we're here live. If you want the raffles and all the good stuff, we're doing it live. We're building an OnlyFans competitor. No, not yet. Not yet. Let's get at it. Hey, Knox, thank you for the 8 months. Appreciate you. Alrighty. Tuesday. Tuesday, folks. Tuesday, the tea was spilt. My desk was covered in tea. So that Tuesday stream is one. Well, that stream was in the classroom, was for the record books. Can't thank Juan and Monica enough. They gave everything. They gave salaries. They gave questions. Anything you could have thunk, they answered. And so once again, huge shout out to Juan and Monica. I'll put their links again in our like follow up to tonight, like when I give out the homework. So if you haven't given them a follow yet, please give them a follow. Nobody shares that stuff. The things they share with you, you will not find anywhere else. So the big things that we took away from there, they had over $1 million in offers. Oh, sorry, over $500,000 in offers. And some big themes kept coming up. Chat, what are some things that came up on Tuesday that kind of shocked you or you thought were important for other folks to hear tonight? Like, we are ready. Exactly, Reggie. You are ready. I need a bootcamp to help me be Monica. I agree. No React. They both got, I think every single one of them, their offers did not include any React questions, and totaled over $500,000 in offers. They didn't really know React. They barely had any technical questions. Like, what? Barely any technical questions. One flat out said they didn't know React. Exactly. It's all about convincing them who you are and why they want to work with you. Exactly. GC said one of Juan's favorite interview question was, as a new developer coming into your team, what do you expect from me? And as a senior, what should I expect from you? Those are some fire questions to ask. When they ask you, do you got any questions? Those two questions are the heat. One literally got asked FizzBuzz and got an offer. FizzBuzz. And got an offer. I'm reading through here. Monica accepted an offer where she didn't know most of the stuff in the tech stack. Like, it was all new to them. Like, the offers they were getting, even though they had learned JavaScript as their core language, they were getting offers in stacks that weren't their core language because they know how to learn fast. That's what they're going to do. When they get there, they're going to learn fast. Reggie saying you can get hired for a job that you don't even know the stack for yet. Exactly. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. Exactly. Being familiar with their 100 hours project was a huge thing. That's one of the things they got asked over and over again. Wasn't necessarily solve this technical question. It was explain the code that's on your GitHub. Right? Walk me through your big project. That's why the 100 hours projects are so important, folks. They're literally getting asked about the code that just wrote in their interviews. I can't tell you how big of a cheat code that is, that if you do a 100 hours project and you understand what's going on in it, that's what you're going to be asked about. What? Do it. I could have been working 6 months ago. Yeah, I'm telling y'all, folks. One of the things I want y'all to, and I don't know how, Jeezy said it, don't talk yourself down. The biggest thing I run into when I'm talking to you all one-on-one, when I'm peeking through the Discord channels, is this idea keeps coming up over and over and over again, that you're not ready yet, that you're not worthy yet, that you have to go learn this other thing, that you have to get better at this other thing before you start applying. No, it's not true. If you've been here, you've been doing the work, you've been working on the things I've asked you to do, you are ready. Oh, Leah, I need to polish up my JavaScript. Of course you do. That shouldn't stop you, though. Leon, I don't know enough React. Great, you don't need it to get an offer. Leon, you know what? I think I should go learn this other language. No. You put in this time, you put in this effort. It's a numbers game. They were getting offers without doing a technical interview because they realized these interviews are also about why do they want to work with you, right? It's a numbers game. I told y'all 60 interviews. Live up to it. That's the real deal. You can do this. You are ready. There will be so much time to practice your JavaScript. There will be so much time to practice the data structures and algorithms we're about to start tonight. There will be time for us to get to React next week, but you can start the process now. Get those chunky, vomity, bad interviews out of your system. Learn what you do well. Learn the things that you can improve upon, and take that into the next few weeks or months as you're applying. And for sure, self-confidence is the biggest obstacle. I think it always is. I think that's the number one thing that holds my students back, is this idea that they are not ready, worthy, or that all the work they put in to get their skills where they are doesn't matter enough to get a job. It's a lie. Imposter syndrome is real. For real, for real. And so if you came to Tuesday's class, what I hope that you realized was that there are a range of companies. There are a range of interviews that you might experience. And it's just about finding that match where the things they're looking for and the things they're testing for are the things that you feel comfortable with. And getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, which means starting the interview process and being real with yourself. What am I good at? What am I not so great at? And then putting a game plan in place so you can get better at those things. I'm late to 100 devs. How do I join the 100 hours project? You start. That's all you got to do to join the 100 hours project. It's a project that you're going to sink 100 hours into, right? That's it. It's a project you're going to sink 100 hours into. Hey, Rav, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Has anyone noticed job listings popping off these past few weeks for entry-level devs in your area? I'm so encouraged by it lately. Yeah. Babylon, if you haven't been paying attention, in like major cities, the entry-level roles are just like exploding right now. I've never seen, I've been telling you this for a couple months. I've never seen it this good. People are like, oh, it's slowed down because of the pandemic. Nope. It is the best I've ever seen it. It is wild out there right now. Just going through these real quick. I don't know how to say it any louder. I really enjoyed Tuesday's class. Anyone record the class? No, we didn't record it because they shared so many things that shouldn't be recorded ever. They shared so many things that just couldn't be repeated. So unfortunate, but we're going to do another round. We're going to have 2 more folks that are going to talk through their process, their interviewing. And so that's coming up soon. So you'll have another, if you missed out on this first 2, you'll have another chance to kind of hear some other folks in their process. Fountain said there's an article in Hacker News today about how we're entering a period of software engineer scarcity. Something like 200,000 positions need to be filled in the U.S. alone. Wild. Yeah, definitely put that in the Discord. The Bureau of Labor also put out something similar, but it's like a multi-year projection, and it was the same idea. Yeah. Cool. All right, folks. Let's go back to the code here. The idea is you're ready, and we're going to talk through today. If you're not feeling interview ready yet, we're going to talk through the things that you need to be focusing on to be interview ready as soon as possible. All right. This is what we're trying to avoid. All right. This was posted to CS Career Questions. I'm having trouble finding a job out of college, 400 plus applications with no luck. A reason why folks find themselves in this scenario is that they haven't done the things to get their online presence situated, to make sure that their applications stand out. They don't have a portfolio. They're not networking. They haven't built out their LinkedIn. So if you're not participating in Mega Month June, that's okay. But you should be making sure you're fixing up these 3 things. All right. Telescope put this on Discord the other day. Just had a coffee chat where I was told they see so many applicants with empty GitHubs, no portfolio sites, and no projects underneath their belt. We're right on track, y'all. Leon has definitely given us the cheat codes. Hey, Telescope, thank you. All right. That is true. The number of folks that go into this process that haven't done the things that we've talked about. We have 2 classes on YouTube all about interview prep. If you're new, definitely watch those 2 classes. All right. You want to make sure that your portfolio, your Twitter, your LinkedIn is looking good. Your portfolios, you already have the content for your portfolios. You have your client projects. You have all the things that we built in class. You have your 100 hours project. You have your team project. You have the maybe the smaller projects you're building for your premium apps, but you have so much stuff. Even if you didn't do all the things I just talked about, there are So many projects that we built together during class that you could be tweaking for your benefit. Did anyone cry during the 101s? No one's cried during the 101s. It's not high pressure. It's just trying to figure out where you're at and how I can be of help. Cool. So, once again, crying out into the darkness. Make sure your GitHub's on point. Make sure you're pushing something every day. Recruiters love those green squares, and I can't tell you how many people are not doing it. The candidates you're going up against are not doing the things that you can do. If you've done the things that we've asked throughout the program, you are light years ahead of other folks that are applying. I have seen hundreds of applications. If you're doing these, I'm not going to say simple, but if you're doing these things, you're ahead. For folks that are doing Mega Month June, you have 10 premium apps that are required. We pushed that deadline away 2 weeks. So next Tuesday, I want to see your premium apps. Remember, your premium apps, you're building something small to help your portfolio, your projects, your portfolio and your applications stand out when you're applying to that company you really want to apply to. And on Thursday, I'm going to show you a project that you can include that's going to help your application stand out. So if you're still hurting for a couple premium apps, definitely come to Thursdays and Fridays class because we'll be working on a showstopper project that can help you stand out. The slides are not working when I remove live. What do you mean? Like you can't control them on your own? Yeah, slides.com changed up how they do the lives, the actual slides. I'm not sure. I'll have to see how the URL is different. It wouldn't give me like the real URL. I gotta probably change a setting or something, but that changed recently. I was noticing that today that I couldn't get like the normal links that I have. So maybe there's something odd. Sorry, folks. We'll make sure that's fixed after class. But yeah, it didn't give me the normal link. It just gave me like this special one. So maybe there's something odd there. When we take a break, I'll try taking a peek. Yeah, can people see that? Let's see. I just want to make sure that the actual link is in there. Cool. Yeah, here's the actual link. I'll put it in chat here. I think that link will work if you remove the live. Well, that doesn't have a live. I think that'll give you like, you might have to have two open tonight. You might need like the live link that I'm using and then like that slide link. It's weird that they're not giving me a live link with that link. So I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out during a break. All right. The thing that I've been noticing as we've been doing one-on-ones and I'm doing technicals with individuals is not feeling 100% comfortable with actually doing a technical interview. And we understand prep, right? Parameters, returns, examples, pseudocode. But to actually talk through it, I think is important. And so tonight, I want to walk through prep with you so you can see live the things I'm thinking through as I'm solving a coding challenge so that you can apply it to your interviews. Okay. So the idea here is I'm going to walk through two kind of simple questions and you're going to see the process that I take to go through each of those questions. And hopefully, based on what you see here, you now have a better understanding of like how to actually approach a technical. So there's kind of three different kinds of questions that you are going to encounter when you're going through your technical interviews, right? We're taking behavioral and bank questions off the table here, right? We're talking about like if you're doing an actual technical that's like a coding challenge, there's really going to be 3 different buckets that you have to be prepared for. There's going to be a question that you can just use your methods and solve. There's going to be a question where you're going to brute force some type of code solution. And then there's going to be some solutions that are going to require an understanding of data structures and algorithms. So those are the 3 like big ones you're going to run into. Now, a lot of you should feel comfortable with method questions already. Don't worry, we're going to give examples and we're going to do it live. Methods questions are questions that you're given that you can solve pretty easily with the work that you've done already, with the methods work that you've done. Remember, I've given out 2 big lists of methods that I asked you to work through and give examples for each. Those methods are going to show up time and time again in your interviews. There is a whole slate of interviews that you could go through and pass those interviews if you just did the methods work. So tonight, when I give out the homework, I'll repost those methods so that you have them. But the idea here is that we saw that some of my students were getting offers with things as simple as FizzBuzz. And I've seen students get offers with things as simple as a palindrome question. So I'm going to show you how to walk through a palindrome question that's going to be using the methods that we've learned. And then I'm going to walk through a brute force type solution where it's not really optimized, but we get through to the end. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time tonight talking about the basics of data structures and algorithms so that you can start to provide more optimal solutions during your interviews. So that's the goal. The goal tonight is to really hone in on these 3 different types of questions, see an example of them live, right? And have a better idea of how you might want to approach these questions. So the first one is going to be the palindrome question, where I'm just going to use methods. And so we're going to talk through that question. We're going to talk through those methods. I'm going to show you step by step how I be engaging with my interviewer. I'm going to show you step by step the things that I'm thinking through when I'm going through an interview, so that hopefully you can suck that into your brain and use it when you are in an interview yourself. But before we do that, we're going to take our top of the hour break. So let me go ahead and put a 5-minute timer on here. If you're new here, we like to be healthy. We like to take our breaks. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. Got 5 minutes on the clock here. Please be healthy, take a break, do what you got to do, and I will see you all in 5 minutes. Boom. Memphis, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Oh, yeah. Please take a break. If you're able, get up, walk around, hydrate, look out the window, let your eyes focus on something that's far away. Give your hands a little bit of a shake out, a little bit of a stretch. Cordionette A, glad you made it. Methods work was great. I've noticed I've been using the MDN less and less while doing Code Wars. Hey, that's good to hear. The repetition pays off. BT, that's wild. Whoa, congrats. I'm putting wood on the fire. I'm out camping. Hey, how you been? That's wild. Glad you're here. What? That's weird. You have an interview tomorrow? Well, hey, good luck. Go get some prep in. Or join us tonight and get some prep in. I'm pretty trash with map. Is there a Code Wars type thing that focuses on specific methods? Yeah, you can actually look for specific methods on Code Wars, I believe. And then some of the methods work that we gave had like specific ones as well. Yeah, there's 2 links tonight for some reason. I don't know why it's not doing the normal link. There's if you don't want it to be live, and exclamation point slides if you want to follow along live. The Logitech M720, no. I have the MX Ergo and the Pro. Good Wi-Fi extender recommendation. I actually was doing some research for a friend on that. If you hit me up, Bobby Lynn, on Discord, I'll send you the ones that they went with in the end. Do you have a link to the job hunting spreadsheet? We do have a link for it. It's definitely on Discord in the follow along materials channel. I'm not sure if we have a Nightbot command for it. We have the bank. It might be in the checklist. Let's see. Yeah, you can do exclamation point sheet. Exclamation point sheet will give you the job hunting spreadsheet. Yeah, there you go. That's the link. 30 seconds, folks. 30 seconds. Hey, Robo. She blah. Yummy, that's wild. How's Mashi doing? Mashi's doing a lot better. They just had their checkup today, actually, to see if the teeth are doing well and everything looks good. All right, folks, come on back. Come on back. Yeah, they just looked at all of them. Looks like everything's healing good, so we're doing good. All right, folks, welcome back. Hey, Leon, thanks for all the inspiration. Appreciate all you do. Hey, just say Zaku. There you go. Welcome. No worries. Y'all inspire me, I swear. Every single day I see y'all on that Discord putting in work, showing up. I know this is late. I know this is hard. I respect the hell out of everybody that shows up, puts in the work. Especially at this point in program. Really at this point in program. Because at this point in program, every doubt in the world is coming into your brain. Can I do this? Will I get a job? Will I be able to keep pushing? Like, it's been a while. Like, all that stuff comes into your brain. And so for the folks that keep throwing down and keep showing up and keep putting in the work, that's respect. Alrighty. Let's jump over to the little Leon. Cool. So I have here a Replit. Replit is just a place to run code. It is one of the things I recommend folks that are interviewing to actually use. And so if you know you're doing an interview with someone, like a technical interview, which you should know. Remember, you should be talking to your recruiter or your interviewer. You should always know before you go into an interview what you're doing. You should straight up ask them and you should Google, like somebody's going to pay you a lot of money to figure it out, because that's what happens. We talked about going on Glassdoor. We talked about going on GitHub. We talked about trying to figure out anything you can give yourself a competitive advantage going into the interview. But you should definitely go into every interview knowing that it's going to be a technical interview. Coil, hey, thank you for the 100 bits. Right? So, if you know you're going into a technical interview, please have your environment set up already so you can jump right into the interview. One of my pet peeves is seeing someone fumble with VS Code or getting some other thing open for 2 to 3 minutes before we can even start. So if you know you have a technical interview, please, I can't tell you how many people go into a technical interview and then fumble for 3 minutes or so to open up the things they need to open up. So I really like Replit for interviewing. It's easy to run code. Some people feel more comfortable in like VS Code because that's where they normally have like all their stuff set up. Just make sure that wherever you're using, you feel comfortable running and executing code. Some people do use the Chrome Dev Tools. I think that gets a little messy. Yeah. Most people will have their own platform. Like they'll use like a CoderPad or a HackerRank or something like that. But a lot of folks are just, hey, let's run some code. So be prepared, have yours up, and if they don't have a place where you're executing stuff, then make sure you know that you have yours up. Yeah. Oopsie, yeah, I learned the hard way in my 101. My bad. Nah, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing the 101s, to figure out the stuff. All right. Can I open up Notepad to show dominance? Why not? All right. If you know you're gonna need some debugging and you feel comfortable with your debugging tools, you can just be in VS Code running stuff. That's up to you. Yeah. All right. So I am going to be talking to myself a lot. I have Bob right here, so I'm not really talking to myself. You know that I'm talking to Bob, and Bob's the one that's interviewing me tonight. And we'll be doing some like funner streams where we do coding challenges together. Tonight's more about the process and less about getting a question correct. All right. So let's pretend that Bob is interviewing me for a job, and they've just told me to open up my text editor and to start solving a problem. So Bob is going to start reading out the problem to me. Bob is telling me to create a program that takes in a word and says whether or not that word is a palindrome. And so as Bob's reading this out to me, the first thing I'm going to say to Bob is, hey, Bob, do you mind if I take some quick notes while you're explaining the problem? And Bob will be like, yes, you can take some quick notes while I'm explaining the problem. Thank you, Bob. So just to make sure I heard what you said, we are creating a program that takes in a word, and that word, we're going to see whether or not it is a palindrome. Is that correct, Bob? Yes, that is correct. That's what we're trying to do. So what I'm doing here in this first stage, before I even get through prep, is making sure that I have heard the question, that I have some simple notes written down, right, about the question. And it's my turn to ask any qualifying or clarifying issues about the question. If you didn't know what a palindrome is, this is the time to ask, right? And in fact, one of the things I might ask Bob just to be sure is, hey, Bob, just to make sure I am clear, a palindrome is a word that is spelled the same forwards and backwards, right? So an example would be like a race car, right? Spelled the same ways forward, same ways backwards. Also, my alleged name is a palindrome. Leon Noel, spelled the same forwards and backwards, right? Bob says, yes, that is true. Your name is a palindrome, race car is a palindrome, and that is what a palindrome is. Great, so now I understand the question. Once I felt like I've understood the question, I am going to start my prep. Now, we've all talked about prep before: parameters, returns, examples, pseudocode. And some people will do this. They'll write out like P and then R and then E. Don't do that. Prep is something that you should have like in your brain, but not something that you're like physically writing down so that they can see, oh, you have this like device that you're working through. You want it to make it seem like you're just a real G at answering technical questions. So I see a lot of people that write the word prep. Don't do it. Just know that you're working through prep in your mind. So for those that are new, prep is the acronym we use to get through our technical questions. The P for parameters. So I know that the parameter I'm taking in is a word. And so what I'm going to ask Bob about now is, hey, Bob, tell me about this word. Will it always be a word, Bob? Will it ever be something more than a word? Like, could we ever wind up with a sentence? And Bob would say, no, it's always going to be a word. Great. Let me ask another question about this word. Will it ever have any special characters in it? Any spaces, hyphens? Is there anything about this word that might be a little off? No, there's no special characters, no spaces, no hyphens, always just a word. Great. No numbers? No numbers. So just the word. And one last thing, Bob. We mentioned that it's a word that's being taken into this program. I understand that there's no spaces, there's no hyphens, there's no underscores, there's no special characters, no numbers. Can the letters be capital case? Like, can they be capitalized? Can they be lowercase or uppercase? And Bob's going to say, you know what? Don't worry about that. Just assume that the word is all lowercase. The number one, there's two big, and this is the secrets here. There's two big problems that folks run into when they first start talking through their prep. The first one is people do this. Right? People do this. Hey, I'm going to ask you to I want you to create a palindrome checker. And people go, palindrome checker? Did you just say palindrome checker? Oh my gosh, palindrome checker, let's go, right? That's what they do in the interview. Well, now I know that you know how to solve the palindrome problem. So when somebody says to you, I want you to create a program that tells whether or not a word's a palindrome, your first word should be palindrome. You said palindrome, right? Palindrome. That's an acronym. Palindrome is the word that's the same forward and backwards, right? And they're gonna be like, yeah. So be cool. If you definitely know how to solve the palindrome, right? You definitely know how to solve the palindrome. Don't let your interviewer know that out the gate. Don't snitch on yourself, right? Take it in stride. Still give it a thought. Still clarify the question. A lot of times there will be problems that sound similar to other problems. Make sure you're still clarifying the question. So that's the big one. When I was doing a lot of my one-on-ones and I asked a simple question, people did the whole like that. You could see their eyes like pop out of their head. Like, yes, thank everyone that I got this question I already knew how to solve. Cool. So first thing, don't snitch on yourself. Second big thing that I see is that folks do not take their time when working through prep. Remember, prep is really helping you to do three things. The first thing prep is going to do is to really make sure that you understand the problem that's being asked. Number two is giving your brain a little bit of time to start digesting and thinking through how you're going to solve this problem. And then the third one is giving you that chance to build that rapport with your interviewer. I can't tell you how many times you're going to run into an interviewer that's just quiet. You want to get them talking. The more you get the interviewer talking, the more likely they're going to help you when you get stuck. So the easiest way you can get the interviewer talking is to clarify the question and start working through your parameter. Like really try and understand what's coming in to this function. Cool. So I have clarified the word that's coming in, and I would repeat it to them one more time. All right. So you're telling me that a word is coming into this, I'm going to say a function, the program that we're building. We know that it's only a singular word. It's not anything ever more than one word. There are no spaces, no hyphens, no special characters, no numbers. And we also agreed that the words coming in will always be lowercase. So I feel like I have a really good idea of the thing that's coming into this function that I'm going to build for you. I want to take a second to really clarify what's coming out of this function. So you said to make sure to tell me whether or not the word was a palindrome. So just to clarify, are you looking for me to return like a string that says is a palindrome, or a string that says not a palindrome, or can I return something like a Boolean, like true or false? This is really important. You want to make sure that you understand what you're returning to your interviewer. The reason why this is also a really big deal is because a lot of times if the interviewer is using like a platform that already like auto grades or whatever, you want to make sure that you return the right thing. A lot of times I've seen students get correct answers, but they wind up returning like two numbers instead of an array, or they wind up returning something that's not a string. And so you really want to make sure that you've clarified what you're returning. This kind of sounds like a spelling bee strategy. It is exactly like a spelling bee strategy. All right. It's giving your brain the time to think through this. Right. So we've clarified the parameter, and we know that there's no funny business. I still spell busyness by saying busyness. Just going to snitch on myself there, right? So we've already confirmed that the word that's coming in has no funny business, is a singular word. And we've confirmed that we're returning a Boolean, a true or false, right? We're returning a Boolean. Cool. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bob. I really feel like I have a strong grasp on the question. I'm building a function that returns whether or not the string that's passed in is a palindrome. I'll be taking in a singular word. There's no funny business with that word, and I'll be returning true or false or a Boolean. Great. Just to make sure that we're both on the same page, I would love to work through a few examples with you. So we mentioned right out the gate that race car is a palindrome. So in this case, race car should return true. Is that correct, Bob? And Bob is shaking. Look, Bob. Bob's shaking his head yes, right? Race car would return true. How about, Bob, your name is Bob, right? So if we put in Bob, would Bob return true? Great. Notice how I'm asking Bob. I'm saying, hey, Bob, would it return true? I'm not saying would return true. I'm asking Bob. I'm trying to pull the interviewer, right? I'm trying to pull that interviewer into the conversation. I don't want them just sitting there, right? I don't want them just sitting there. I want them engaging. I want them answering my question. Is race car a palindrome? Yes. Is Bob a palindrome? Yes. So for both of these cases, I am returning true. All right, let's get one negative case here. How about birthday? Birthday, would that return false? And the interviewer, in this case, Bob, would say yes, would return false. All right, Bob, I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like we have a good idea of the question. I feel like we clarified what's coming in. I feel like we clarified what's going out. And I feel like we have some really good test cases here. Notice how I am using we language. I'm using we language very intentionally here. I'm trying to build a rapport with this interviewer. The interviewer is going to do two things at the end. They're going to say whether or not I solved the problem and whether or not they want to work with me. I'm trying to build that rapport. I'm trying to get to know them. I'm going to start trying to crack some jokes if things are going well. All right. Would you actually say what? Blah, what would I actually say? Cool. And I know this seems a little excessive, but this is it. You're trying to really get to know the interviewer. You're really trying to pull them in. You're trying to clarify all the edge cases here. I'm feeling really good. We're right on track. Yeah, I would be confident. I'd be like, oh, I feel like we're doing good here, right? Do you agree? And I would ask them, like, do you agree, right? Get them saying yes. Remember, like, one of the good negotiating tactics is get the other person saying yes as quickly as possible. So when we're still in the win scenario, like right now, we're winning, right? We actually haven't even talked about code yet. We haven't even got into code yet, but the interviewer already has a positive opinion of us, right? We've clarified everything, right? We've built that rapport. This is why they're going to help us when we get stuck, when we're solving a problem. Great. So what I would like to do is to go ahead and build out this function. So I'm going to work through some pseudocode, but first let me get the function here. I'm going to call this function isPalindrome. This is going to be the function that's going to check whether or not the word that comes in is a palindrome. And since we already said that there's a word coming in, I'm going to put word as my parameter here. And just because we've already talked through them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my function down here a few times. So I'm going to pass in the race car that we talked about. And I'm going to call it again. And I'm going to pass in Bob, what we talked about. And I'm going to pass in the last one that we talked about is palindrome. And this was birthday. So here are the test cases that we've already talked through. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to console log the result of each of these. So I'm just going to hold down command here, get my console logs going. And the reason why I want to console log is because I can do a little nifty thing here at the end and put the value. So when I run this, what should happen is whatever the result is should be console logged with the value that it should be. So we know race car should be true. We know that Bob should be true. And we know that birthday should be false. So if we write out our code and this function works correctly, we will wind up seeing in our console over here, true, 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 and false, false. If for some reason our code is incorrect, we would see a mismatch between those two values. And this is the big setup, right? You're making your own test cases, just like you would do on Code Wars, right? So that you know whether or not your code actually works. You don't have to sit there and guess. You all agreed to these. You agreed to these very specific examples. This is your receipts. They can't change it up on you. You can't get 10 minutes into the problem and they change their mind and actually they're looking for something slightly different. No, no, no. We've already agreed to the examples. Our test cases are already set up for our examples, and we're going to build the code that solves that problem. This is a big step that a lot of folks don't do that really starts to separate you from the noise. To really take your interviewing to the next level is working through this prep, the parameters, the returns, the examples, having them all listed here, making it so that you will know whether or not your stuff is working before you ever write a line of code. Now I'm feeling comfortable. I've spent, let's see, how long have I spent? I spent like 15 minutes doing this, right? If I have a 45-minute interview, this is good. A lot of people feel like they have to rush into it. A lot of people feel like they gotta get to the answer with immediately. No, cannot be farther from the truth. This 15 minutes has been a 15 minutes well spent. You really know the problem. You've built a rapport with your interviewer. You have the skeleton in your test cases set up. You're ready to rock and roll. And this entire 15 minutes, I've been thinking about how to solve my problem. Blah said, so like time-wise, how long should a simple question like this be stretched for? Going into your interviewer, going in, like, whoops. Going into your interview, you should know, how long the interview is going to last. You should also know how many questions they're going to ask you. You should, that's an OnlyFans preview for sure. You should know. What if that's like the I gotta get those thoughts out of my head. What? Anonymous gifted a tier 2 community sub? Thank you so much. That's wild. I appreciate that. Barrow, I hope you enjoy that. That's a tier 2. That's wild. Thank you so much. All right. So my mind went to like dirty things from my OnlyFans that are like programming related. And like, there could be like a giving it to your interviewer special. So just let's label that for later. We haven't reached the OnlyFans channel points yet, but that's one thing that could come up later on. But let's put that to the side now. All right, put that to the side. All right, I'll add that to my list. Okay. So this entire time, I have been building that rapport. And before I even showed up, I knew that I was going to have one question and that I had 45 minutes for that question. So burning 15 minutes doing all this setup is great because I'm also using that time to think through my question, to really understand it, to have an idea of how I'm going to approach it. So by the time I get to my pseudocode, right? By the time I get to my pseudocode, I'm ready to rock and roll. But what if they don't tell you, ask ahead of time how many when you ask a time? That's their fault. If you straight up ask and they don't tell you how many questions, that's their fault, because there's no way that you can plan out your interview if they don't tell you how many questions there's going to be. Right? And so that's not on you. If they say you have 45 minutes for a question and you take that full 45 and at the end they say, "Oh, actually we were going to do something." No. I sent you an email. In that email it said, how long is the interview going to be? What should I expect? And you told me you're going to ask me a coding question and I have 45 minutes for that question. So that's why you have to ask before going in. And if they haven't told you before you go in, it's the first thing you should bring up when you're talking to your interviewer. A lot of times the interviewers are going to want to chit chat beforehand, ask a behavioral, ask a technical question. And before you get to the brass tacks, you should ask. Is it not weird to email ahead? Absolutely no. Every good interviewer knows what they're walking into before they show up for the interview. If you don't know what you're walking into, you have messed up. I'm going to say that again for the folks in the back. If you walk into an interview and you don't know what you're about to do, you have messed up. You should have qualified. You should have researched. You should know what you're walking into. Don't have that panic. Don't let that emotion get you, because people build up the interviews in their head to this point where they're vomiting before they even get to the interview because they have no idea what they're getting into. Know what you're getting into. Ask, clarify before you show up. Cool. So we burnt 15 minutes on this. So what you're saying is it messed up many interviews in my life? Hey, maybe. Hey. Jay Shady with the 2 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate how accessible you make your language to people that don't know the ins and outs of this stuff. Super helpful. Hey, I'm glad this is helping. Cool. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the 2 months. Spending all that Bezos' money. You know what? It's Prime Day, folks. Think about all the money Bezos is making right now, and we're chipping it away. We're chipping it away. I appreciate all the Prime subs today. All right. Is the first initial interview ever that deep? Can we expect it to be more casual? It really depends. It really depends, and that's why you got to ask. Each company's different. All right, we burnt 15 minutes. We set this all up. Meanwhile, I've been contemplating how I'm going to solve this problem. And so now me and my interviewer have a good rapport, and I'm going to say, hey, I just want to talk through some pseudocode before I actually solve the problem. So we did our prep, our parameters, our returns, our examples. The last thing we got to do is talk through our pseudocode. So when I'm thinking through this problem, Bob, I know that there is a way to take a word, break that word into an array. I can then possibly reverse that array and then compare the original word that was passed in to the reverse of that word. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reverse the word. And then I'm going to compare the original word to the reverse. Bob, does that sound like a good approach to this problem, to reverse the word and then compare the word to the original one? Bob shaking his head, yes. Thank you, Bob. I can see Bob shaking his head. Great. So then let's try this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, and we are going to create a variable called word reverse, or word reverse, and I'm going to reverse the word that's coming in. So I'm going to take the word, I'm going to split it. Split is a method that takes the string and turns that string into an array. The empty quotes is that there's no delimiter. Like I could delimit by space or something like that, but no delimiter here. Now that I have an array, I can reverse it. And the problem now is I would have a reversed array, but I actually don't have a word yet. Like I don't have a string. So the last thing I have to do is join back that array into a string. So that would take the original word and reverse it. Cool. The next thing I want to do is I want to compare the original word to the reversed word. I could do a conditional here. Like I could do if, and then in my if or else statement, like return something. But I'm going to use a quirk of Java. Well, not a quirk of JavaScript, but the cool thing is if I just return it, I can return word equal to word reverse. And what this will do is this statement here, this word equal word reverse, what that'll actually do is it'll give me a Boolean of true or false. And so since that is what we're actually looking for, right? Since that's what we're actually looking for, I can just go ahead and return that, and I don't have to do any conditional logic here. Bob, does this look like we're on the right track here? Bob shaking their head. All right, cool. So I think we're in a good spot. I'm going to test this just to see if it's working the way we think it's working. I'm just going to run my code up here. Great. So we can see that it returned true, and that's what we were looking for. For our second test case of your name, Bob, we got true, and that's what we were looking for. And for our third test case of birthday, we see it returned false, and that's what we were looking for. So it looks like this program is satisfying all the constraints. First try. First try. Thank you, Izzy. Satisfied all of our constraints. Looks like we solved it. Is there anything that you see that's missing here? Does it satisfy what you were looking for? Bob shaking their head violently. Yep, looks like it satisfies everything. And do you mind if I just take a second to shorten this a little bit? I think I can clean this up a little bit. On your team, do you prefer code written out with comments? Or do you prefer code to be as small as possible? Like, does your team value one-liners? Or do you like the way that I've broken out the words here? well, we actually value the way you've written out your code here. But if you can shorten this, we got some extra time. Let's see it. Oh, thank you, Bob. I think I can shorten this. One of the things that I could have done here is instead of like actually creating a whole other variable, we could have just done the check up here, right? So we could have just done word equal. So we can just do the return. Great. I'm going to go ahead and delete this code here. And now, instead of kind of creating that other variable, we're just going to do the return. And now let's go ahead and run the code again. So it's cleaned up. Looks good. Do you all use ES6? Like, is that something that you use on the team frequently? Yep. So I could probably clean this up into one line if I wanted to, using an arrow function. Chat, if you know the arrow function, throw it in the chat. Let's see who can flex. Who can do the arrow function? Throw it in chat. I'm going to sip some water. The actual solution, not the arrow. Y'all think you got jokes. Oh, I think Reggie got the complete one first. Yep, I think Reggie got the first one. Congrats, Reggie. I think you're the first one I saw with it fully out there. Cool. So we do know that with ES6, we got the arrow functions. And so we can do this all on one line. So I would ask my interviewer, any interest in me doing this in one line or as with few characters as possible? They're like, yeah, go ahead. So I can go ahead and do const is palindrome. And I'm going to set that equal to, let me delete this here. Let me pull this up. All right, there we go. Ooh. Let's make it shorter. Boom. Does this work, chat? Does this work? Why doesn't it work? I see this a lot. This is what I see a lot of people do. Yeah, because I put like a shorter variable here, but I didn't actually fix the rest of my stuff. I see a lot of people do that. You can do like W. Cool. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. Cool. It's working. Cool. All right. So that's how I would go about this interview. Let's talk a little bit about what happened here. Bob asked us a question. We clarified that question, really took notes and tried to understand it. Then we worked through our prep. All right? Worked through our prep. We wars like single letter variables. Ew. Bob asked us to do it. The interviewer literally just asked us to do it in few characters as possible. That's why. I'd give you a job. Thanks, Kat. So we talked through our question. We clarified our parameter. We talked through anything that could be funny business around that word, clarified it. We clarified what we were returning, right? We were returning a Boolean, a true or false. We worked through some examples. Then we built out our test cases. Everything was doing good. We talked through our pseudocode, and then we actually wrote out our code. We were really trying to build a rapport. We were asking leading questions. We were trying to get them to say yes. We were using we language. We were pulling them into helping us. A lot of you will get questions that if you just study your methods and you use the prep model that we just shown, you will rock your interview. If you do the 60 like I'm asking, I guarantee you will have an interview that goes exactly as you want it, just by doing two things. What? Am I live? I guess, yeah, I'm still live, right? Chat, am I live? Yeah, okay. I don't know why that dropped. Cool. So, I'm begging you. I'm gonna go bigger here. I'm begging you. Watch this back. Notice the little things that I'm doing, the leading questions, the getting them talking. You want to practice this for every single interview that you do. Every single one. If you don't like talking to yourself, get yourself a duck. You know what? If you're doing Mega Month, I'm going to send you a duck. I'm going to order them on Amazon right now, and I'm going to send you a duck for putting in all the extra work. Cool. Get yourself a duck. If you don't like ducks, get yourself a Bulbasaur. All right? If you don't like Bulbasaurs, get yourself a Bob. Yo, Bob is... Look at the Astro Bob. Look at the Bob looking good. Bob's losing weight too. Look at that. Bob's getting Bob's getting summer ready. It's a mannequin summer. What can I say? Right? So talk through this. You're doing your Code Wars. Talk through it. Hot Bob Summer. If you're doing your Code Wars, talk through it. As you're doing your leak codes, talk through it. Do the exact process that we just did every single time. Never, ever do another Code Wars or leak code without walking through the things that we just walked through. You need to be a lean, mean interviewing machine, and walking through the steps that we just did is how you're going to get there. Over and over and over again until it's easy. Does that make sense? And like I said, a lot of you are going to get questions that are just your methods work plus this process. That's the biggest cheat code. If you were here on Tuesday, they talked about questions that were just their methods and this process combined, and they got offers from it. That's it. That's all you need. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what other things you don't or do know. You know your methods and you know this process, you can get an offer. 3D print a Bob and raffle it. I can try. I don't know how I would model Bob. If anybody wants the 3D model Bob, I'll print it. Cool. Wanted to get that out there. D-Boy said, oh my God, I just joined what's the process? I missed it. You can watch back the VOD, and then this will be also on our YouTube as well. ! YouTube. We'll get you that as well. iPhone 12 can scan it. Interesting. Gotta get myself an iPhone 12 then. All right. So that's the first run of the process. I want to make sure I give a chance for questions before we do another run with a slightly harder question. How do we handle a situation where we don't know? That's okay. You're still going to walk through all the things that we just walked through. Even if you have no idea at all how you're going to solve the problem, you're still going to do exactly the thing that we just did. You're going to walk through, clarify everything, and then you're going to spend more time on your pseudocode. Right? You're going to spend more time on your pseudocode. And you're going to have been talking to your interviewer. They're going to have been vibing with you a little bit. They're going to be more likely to help you when you get to the point to where you don't know what to do. I can't tell you how many people think this is going to happen to them, but when they get into interviews, the adrenaline's going and things just work out well. Okay? So know that it might happen, but there are going to be interviews where it's just the methods work and the method we just did, and that's why it's a numbers game. Because even if there are 20 other interviews where they blow your mind, you have no idea what the heck they're talking about, you still have 20 to 40 where things are going to go right. That's why it's a numbers game. Cool. All right. Can we talk about when they add a little bit of complexity? Does that happen? Yes. So here's the other thing about burning time in the beginning. If you know you have 45 minutes and they said that you're going to solve one problem and you've clarified everything, you solved it, you have less time to do any of their follow-up questions. Which you're like, Leon, that sounds like a really bad idea. No, because you solved the problem that they had, but you ran out of time to do the things they didn't tell you you were going to do. So if they try to add complexity onto it, you'd be like, you know what? I feel like we rocked this first part. Right? I feel like we rocked this first part. If we had more time, I know that we would come to a really elegant solution for the thing you just asked. Since we only have 10 minutes left, let's work on getting that together. And if we run out of time, I'm happy to follow up with you via email with my full solution. Is that okay? Right? Like I'm literally talking to my interviewer saying that. Like I spent 35 minutes answering the question they told me I was going to answer. And if they throw some fancy stuff on the end being like, oh, do this another way, then I'll be like, the first thing out of my mouth is, oh, we have 45 minutes scheduled. I want to be respectful of your time. I know that if I had known that we were going to do something extra, I would have saved some more time for it. But since we only have 10 minutes, I'm going to try my best to get through it in these 10 minutes. But if we don't get there in these 10 minutes, I'm going to follow up via email with the full solution. Is that okay? And they're going to say, sure. Or let's try really hard to get it done now. Right? Oh, I have all day, but no, I'm sorry. I actually have another interview scheduled right after this one. So I apologize. I won't actually be able to go over our time today. I do have to get ready for my next interview. That's it. And then that's on them. They should have told you in the beginning. Do students run into efficiency, big O follow-ups often? Yes. That's why the second half of tonight's class is all about starting to talk through making more efficient code. We are going to do another problem that I am going to do in what we call a brute force way. Then we're going to learn about data structures, algorithms, big O, and eventually we're going to come back and do it in a more efficient way. Cool. What did they ask to optimize solution faster? We're going to get to that later today, Yash, for sure. Because we didn't do that. One of the last things I would have done in the end is actually talk through my big O, like what I think the complexity and stuff like that is. For this one, not really, because I just used a bunch of methods. But for the other algorithms that we'll see, yes, I would have talked through my complexity. And you'll see that in a second. This is awesome and just what I needed. Hey, I'm glad to hear that. Any other questions before we move on to the next question? We're going to see this again. Just want to make sure we have enough time. XD, hey, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. 15 gifted subs total. That's wild. Thank you so much, XD. Y'all wilding today. It's been popping off. I appreciate all the love. Today I recruited my orthodontic assistant to 100 devs. Hey, well, hopefully they're here. Welcome. Alrighty, doesn't seem like we have any other questions, so let's move on to the next question. Mad facts on running the clock. Hey. So the next one we're going to do is a leak code question. And leak code is where you all should be transitioning once you have gone over all your methods and you've worked through your string methods, your array methods. On Code Wars, you want to make the transition to leak code. Not before, though. If you have not grinded out your code wars, if you haven't done a lot of level 8s, a lot of level 7s, some level 6s, where you've seen these methods over and over again, where you've seen split, where you've seen map, where you've seen the methods that you've studied, right? Once you feel comfortable, right, getting through a level 7, then it's time to move on to leak code. And comfortable is not a feeling. It's whether or not you're actually solving the problems, right? Dak, that's wild. So, I'm going to say it again. This methods work is so important. Going through those list of methods that I shared with you will literally get you a job with the method that we just used. Now, once you've practiced that, you've done your code wars, you've gotten through, you feel comfortable in 7s, you can bust out a 6 using just methods, not data structures and algorithms, just the methods that you've learned. Then it's time to maybe start switching gears to some leak code easies so you can start working on code that's not directly a method that you've learned. Like this one-liner here is just straight method, split reverse join. You either know it or you don't, right? You either studied the methods or you didn't. They're either in your Anki or they're not. All this stuff should be in your Anki, right? Not sure if you've done enough code wars to move on to leak code. Can you solve a level 7 reliably? And can you tackle a 6? Okay, maybe with some maybe Google foo. If you're solving 7s and you can hit a 6, then it's time to look at some leak codes. I'm not saying you have to completely wipe away code wars. It's still good to review all those methods and get that method's help, but you want to get into leak code to look at some other type of code. Looks like I'm hitting that old dusty road on code wars after this. Hey, I hope you do. Says Bob is number 1 on our clan chart. Does it really say that? That'd be hilarious. It's my graded account called Bob. All right. Next. So, Gabriel, we've talked a lot about Anki in the past for setting that up, but for the methods, it's pretty straightforward. You put you put the method on the back. You put the example using that method and try to recall it. Code Wars burned me out, to be honest. Well, all right. At least you're number 1. Hope you're recovering from that, though. Yeah, I think people grinding it out is tough, but you're number 1. You did it. All right, so we saw some methods questions. Let's talk about brute force. Chat, have you heard of brute force before? Yes or no? Yes or no in chat. Yep, yes, no. Cool, we got some no's, we got some yeses. Cool, it's good for me to kind of know where folks are at. Some of the readings we have mentioned it one off, but brute force is a term that people use when you're not really solving a problem efficiently, but you're solving it, right? You're really not going about it in an elegant way, but you're getting the answer. And so there are steps to doing well in technical interviews. The first step for a lot of folks is being really comfortable with their methods and crushing an interview that has methods work. But the next step is when you get into questions that are outside of the scope of just using methods to solve, you're going to have to rely on your basic JavaScript skills, like the big 4, like your variables, your loops, your conditionals, right? And your functions. Most problems that you encounter in an interview with JavaScript can probably just be solved with those 4 things. Not efficiently, not elegantly, not pretty, but it will work. And that is the first step, right? It's just getting it to work. So what we are going to do is we're going to look at what is probably the most common leak code and then talk through how we would solve it using brute force. We'll then learn about how we can make our code more elegant in terms of space and time. And then eventually we'll come back and solve the problem again. Cool. So I'm going to go back to Replit and we're going to look at a question, and Bob's going to walk me through that question as well. Cool. Actually, let's go ahead and do our break a little early. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and do our next question where we do a brute force solution and walk through it. So let's go ahead and take our break early. Let me put 5 minutes on the clock here. Cool. All right. Folks, please take your break. If you're able to, get up, hydrate. Thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Refreshing. Cheers to you. And let your eyes focus. Get up, stretch a little bit. I'm going to do that too. I'm going to stretch real quick. Burp. Oh, yeah. Alrighty, folks. If you're able to, please take a break. Are OAs with recorded behavioral prompts sus? What do you mean? OAs? Folks, please take a break. 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Online assessments. Our online assessments were recorded behavioral prompts sus. Like where they like ask you questions that are already recorded, or where they're actually recording your behavioral questions. I think that's I'm starting to see become a little bit more and more common. Yeah. Before I didn't really see it, but I'm starting to see more of it. Do you have any advice for behavioral interviews? I always overthink them. Become Water. We actually have a whole class on behavioral questions. The behavioral questions are really just about preparing them. So we have a whole class on it. If you go to our YouTube, !YouTube here in chat, we'll take you to it. In the YouTube, we have a whole class on it. And the really big thing is we use the bank. So you can do !the bank here in chat. And that will give you all the questions that our 100 Devs members are preparing. And in those questions, we try to answer them with CAR, cause, action, result. So like what happened? What action did you take? And what is the result? Basically, how are you the best thing that's ever happened since sliced bread because of what you went through? I think you forgot the A there. Or it might just be bank. Yeah, just, sorry, ! Bank. Yeah, so there you go. That's the bank of questions that all of us are preparing. And you want to walk through CAR, cause, action, result. What happened? What action did you take? And how are you way better off because that thing happened to you? Hate when you're walking a dog and a dog runs up without a leash and the owner's like, she's friendly. I don't know your dog, son. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves too. My other big pet peeve is owners that have little dogs that don't train their dogs to not be reactive just because they're little. As someone that's had a little dog and a big dog, I think that's important. Had a first try attempt on a LeetCode medium the other day. Not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed when the job offers didn't immediately come rolling in. Yeah, you got that only works when you do the hards. You do the hards and they start flooding in. Why did they blur out the dog? Softest, that comment, I think your dog was actually like spam blocked or filter blocked. I have two like medium-sized dogs. Mashi's 44 pounds and Simba's a little bit heavier. But I had a Chihuahua that unfortunately passed away early when we started the program. She's in a few slides. Cheeky's is at the end of a couple slides. How do you answer when they ask about the gap? Clark, what gap? Kritia? I gotta make sure I say that right. Kritia? What gap? It is, well, a little overzealous sometimes. All right, folks, come on back. Come on back. Job gap? Feel like I'm you know, like how people always make the meme like Simpsons did it? We have a whole class on kind of like interview prep, like the basics, not the specific stuff, but the basics. And the gap can be explained in a few ways, but there's always a story. There's always a way to tie I don't care what you've done. There's a way to tie what you've done into a great story. We've done a few of them live. There's actually a recording of it in the Follow Materials channel of like crafting people's stories live. But there's always a way to craft your story. Job gaps right now are really easy to explain because of the pandemic. Don't care if it's been a year, even 2 years, you can lean into that a little bit. So if it's a recent gap, pandemic, hey, use the, I did this thing before and pandemic hit and I used that time to sharpen my development skills and that's why I'm applying now. Other gaps, you can fill them in with consulting and you're just doing consulting in between. Yeah. There you go, Vlaw. Vlaw throwing out the cheat codes tonight too. How often is it okay to test our code in an interview? Is it frowned upon to ask? No, it's not okay. Sorry, it is okay. Totally okay to test your code. Yeah, absolutely. Always talk through stuff with your interviewer too. If you ever feel like something might not be comfortable, just talk through it with them. All right, folks, let's try another one. I'm going to chill the music here. All right, so here's the next one. Let's go to LeetCode real quick. Okay, do this over here. All right, cool. Sorry. All right, so on LeetCode, we have some problems. And the very first problem that's like on the LeetCode list, and Sam said something. Oh, my last job ended in January, and I've been freelancing ever since. Didn't seem to matter during my interviews. Boom, there you go. Always feel like reading Rainbow. Don't take my advice for it. All right, there you go. Consulting is the beautiful gap filler. Freelancing is the beautiful gap filler. Use it. All right, so here's a leak code. On leak code, there's a couple ways to do problems. You can look at like easy, mediums, or hard. There's also high frequency problems that show up on leak code. And a very common trend right now is for interviewers just to go to leak code, grab the high frequency problems, and then ask them in an interview. So it behooves you to go to leak code and work through some of the high frequency interview questions. And so that's what you're going to do. Once you feel comfortable in Code Wars, and remember, comfortable is not the feeling of comfort, but like the idea that you can do 7s and a 6 every once in a while, you are going to move over to leak code and you're going to start working through leak code. Now, leak code has frequencies on their problems, like how often they show up in interviews, and they have easy, medium, or hard. You want to start working through high frequency, easy problems. I can't tell you how, like, just to clarify, I see hundreds of interviews. Over the past month, I've seen hundreds of interviews. Like literally over the past month, I've seen at least over 100 interviews. And the number of interviews that I've seen that are just asking method type questions, over the moon. The number of questions that I saw that are just going to leak code, taking some easy high frequency problems and asking them during an interview is wild. Like a huge percentage of folks are just going to leak code, ripping questions and asking them. So you can prep by memorizing your methods. You can prep by doing some of these leak codes, and know that if you're playing the numbers game, you're probably going to see some of them during your practice. Should we practice problems more than once? Yes. You want to do them once, and then you want to go ahead and add them to your Anki and make sure that you can recall how you would solve them in your Anki. That's what I do. We're going to actually talk about that and like how to go about like memorizing these and putting them into more practice. But for me, when I was really grinding my data structures and algorithms, I was really grinding leak code, I would solve it once. I would try and figure out the optimal solution, and then I put that in my Anki, and then working through my Anki was just like me like seeing the question and then like literally saying out loud the pseudocode. Yeah. Where did you see these interviews? Well, I right now have 30 students that are actively interviewing, and I debrief with most of them about how the interview went, what they were asked, how did it go, and so I have a really good pulse on interviews right now, especially right now. And a lot of folks that I've been meeting with one-on-one, they've been telling, like from 100 devs, have been telling me too. If you're participating in Mega Month, we have a private channel where people are posting their interview stuff in, so you can see kind of the questions that are getting asked and the process behind some of these companies. So that's how I know. Juan said he basically memorized all the fundamental code wars for his interviews. Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's not. That's the cheat codes. You just do those very simple things. And you play the numbers game. You're good. All right. So the reason why leak codes are a little more interesting is that they're going to be a little bit harder to understand, and they're going to have a solution that they're looking for that's going to be evaluated. Not only does it work, but does it solve the problem efficiently? So the way I'm about to solve this problem is not going to be efficient. It's going to be a brute force solution. The funny thing is in chat, I think it was Bobby Lynn. Bobby Lynn saw this problem. He's like, throw a hash map at it. That's the optimal answer here, right? You can throw a hash map at this and solve it. So it's funny that like once you get into this groove, you like, I can like, when I was really doing this a while back, there were some, you just tell me the number and I would tell you how to solve it. I didn't even need the problem. I just knew the number and how to solve it. Like I got a little overboard with it, but that's it. Bull, don't worry about it yet because we're not there, but we're going to get there eventually. Today, we're going to brute force it. All right, we're going to brute force it. All right, so here's the question. And the other reason why I like leak code is good. They're going to start using language that might actually come up in an interview. Code Wars is a little bit better with like normal sounding language. I know that sounds wild, but it is better. Leak code's going to use some more of that don't want to say like academic, but like more elite speak, more programming stuff that you want to get used to hearing. All right. Given an array of integers, nums, and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. So that's the question. All right, that's the question. So I'm gonna go back to my lovely Replit here, and I'm gonna ask Bob. Bob just said that question to me, and so I'm gonna try and clarify the question back to Bob. All right, Bob. Seems like you're asking for, and please let me know if I misrepresent this. You have a problem that you would like me to solve. And this problem is I will be given an array of numbers and another number. Like we're going to call that number target. And what you want me to do is find the indices of the numbers that add up to the target. So I just want to make sure I actually fully understand this. So I'm going to take some notes. Is that okay, Bob? Bob said yes. Well, didn't say yes. They shook their head. Okay, thank you, Bob. So I just want to take some notes here real quick. We're going to have an array of numbers called nums. And we're going to have a target, which is just a num. And what you would like for me to do is return the indices of the numbers that add up to the target. So that's interesting. So the indices, not the numbers. So indices, sorry, my spelling is always atrocious. The indices, not the numbers themselves. Cool. So I feel like I have a handle on the problem, Bob. Can you just tell me if this is correct? You're going to give me an array of numbers and a target number. I'm going to find two numbers in that array that add up to the target. But I am going to spit out not those two numbers, but the indices of those numbers. Bob shaking his head. Great. So let me just go ahead and write this out here. We have an array of numbers. This array of numbers, I'm going to ask a few questions about these numbers if you don't mind. This array of numbers, will there ever be something that's not a number in this array, Bob? Great. Will there ever be special characters that are numbers? Will there ever be negative numbers? Okay. Will there ever be an empty array where there are no numbers at all? Great. So it seems like we won't have an empty array. We will have all numbers. They won't have any special characters or be anything other than numbers. And you're telling me that it's okay for them just to assume that they're all positive for now. Great. So I can assume that there's no empty arrays, that it's all numbers. That's a good one, Brian. Are they all whole numbers? Will there ever be decimal places? No, they're all whole numbers. Great. So just to repeat that back to you, you're going to give me an array of numbers. We know that there will only be numbers in this array. The array will never be empty. Oh, since I have to add up two. Will there always be two or more numbers in this array? Yeah? Okay, great. So let me repeat that back to you. You're going to give me an array of numbers. That array of numbers will always have two or more numbers inside of it. Those numbers will actually always be numbers. They won't be like special characters or something odd. They will always be positive. They will always be whole numbers, so no decimal places or anything like that. Is there anything that I am missing? Is there anything that's odd or something that I might not have asked or clarified about this array of numbers? No? Okay, great. Yeah, actually they might have said integers. I think that might have been right too, which would have given us some clues there. Great. So once again, spent significant time clarifying that I understood everything there could possibly be to understand about that array. Some big common ones whenever you're dealing with arrays, make sure that there's no empty array. Make sure everything that's inside of it, you understand what it could be. Make sure there's nothing odd, no special characters, no spaces, things like that, no strings. It's all really numbers. Great. The next thing you said was that you're going to give me a target number. And kind of the same questions I had for the array. Is there any funny business going on with that target number? Like, will it always be a number? Like, it won't be like a string or a boolean or something like that? Great. So it'll always be a number. Will it always be a positive whole number? Yes, it'll always be a positive whole number. That's great. No decimal places, like we clarified. Great. So I feel like we're in agreement that the array of numbers and the target, there's really no funny business that's going on here. We feel pretty comfortable that we really understand what's in the array and what this possible target number could be. So I feel really good about what's coming into the function. Is there anything that you think that I'm missing there? No? All right, great. I just want to clarify that I know what I am returning to you, what I'm spitting back out of this program I'm going to write for you, this function I'm going to write for you. You said an array of indices. An array of indices. All right, so I know that I'm going to be returning an array. And that array will have indices in it. So two numbers, right? Two numbers. So that would be an array of two numbers. And those numbers will be the first index that we care about and the second index that we care about. So the idea being that we're going to return this array. That array is going to have two numbers in it, and we won't ever expect it to be empty because we know that our array coming in will always have two or three numbers. Interesting question is if, can I assume that there will always be two numbers that add up to the target? Right? Will there ever be a scenario where there are numbers in our array and we have a target number and there's no connection? Like, there's no way to get two numbers from that array to head up to the target. No, I can always assume that there's a solution. Great. That's a really good thing for me to clarify. Thank you for letting me know that. Wonderful. So I know I'm always going to turn an array. I'm always going to have two numbers in it. And great. So I feel pretty comfortable about what's coming into the function. I feel pretty comfortable what I'm returning to you. I would love to walk through a few examples if that's okay. Great. So let's say our first example is an array that has, let's just say it's a continuous array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in it. And our target is, let's say, 7. So we have, well, let's actually say, let's make this a little bit clearer. Let's say 9. And I actually have another question after this. Let's say 9. So the only two numbers here that add up to 9 are 4 and 5. There's nothing else I can do that'll get me to 9. It's just 4 and 5. So if this was my function where I passed in that array and I passed in that target, I would get back 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 would be my first index and 4 would be my second index, because arrays are 0 index. 0, 1, 2, 3. So the first number that I know is going to be adding up to 9 is the third index. And the second number that adds up to 9 is the fourth index. Because you didn't ask for the numbers. You didn't ask for 4 and 5. You asked for the indices. Is this a correct solution? All right, so this is correct. This would work. This also gave rise to another question. And the question I have is, what if there are multiple numbers that add up to the target? So I'm thinking here, like we have 3 and 4 that add up to 7 and 2 and 5 that could add up to 7. So will I ever run into a scenario where there are multiple solutions? And if so, should I go with the first one? And so they would answer that, right? I actually don't know from this question what the answer is, right? So they might say, yeah, just grab the first one and return it, or like, no, we want the last one, something like that. So in the questions that I'm asking, I'm still in my example phase. But from the example, right? From my example, I've started to come up with other questions, and I'm engaging the interviewer and those questions that are coming up. And they're gonna have to answer me. They're gonna have to say, actually, Rollers is saying there's only exactly one solution. Great. There's only exactly one solution. Oh, wow. Okay. So that makes this a little bit easier in my mind in terms of like how I'm thinking about how I'm eventually going to solve this. But once again, hold on, where are we at? We're like 15 minutes in, and I still haven't even gotten to my code yet. It's so important, especially with these trickier problems. These problems where the wording is weird, and you don't know it intrinsically how you're going to immediately solve it. This part of the process is so important. Is it typical that an interviewer will just ask you the question from LeetCode without sending the link to the problem? Yes, all the time. This happens so much to my students. Nicole, hey, thank you for the 7 months. Thank you for being here. Is it okay to use 2 for loops? Well, that's how we're going to solve it originally, because that's going to be our brute force solution. All right, so this is the first example. If you don't mind, I would like to do 2 more examples just to make sure we're all on the same page. Cool. So another example that we could do here is, let's go ahead and say, let's do 5, 6, 9, 9 with a target of 11. There you go. So in this case, we have an array of 5, 6, 9, and our target is 11. And so in this case, the return would be not 5 and 6. That's actually a pretty tricky part of this problem. I keep thinking to just return the numbers. We actually want the indices. So I'm going to return 0 and 1. Is that correct? Let me check with Bob. Bob is saying that's correct. Great. And let's do one more. Let's do one more problem here. Let's go ahead and say we have another array, and that array is going to be, let's just make something up here. Let's say 22, 7, 100, and let's say 5. Great. And our target will be 12. All right. So we have an array with 22, 7, 100, and 5. Our array our target is 12. And what we should return is the index of 1 and 3. Is that correct, Bob? 1 and 3, meaning that 0, 7 is 1, 2, 3. Index of 1 and 3, which means 7 and 5. 7 plus 5 is 12, so 1 and 3 should be the indices. Cool. So I feel pretty good about these examples. Is there anything that I'm missing in these examples that you're seeing that we should talk about before I try solving this problem? Is it okay if we do not complete the solution during interview? Would that create a negative feedback in the interview? It can for some companies, but my advice to you is to always just follow up afterwards, right? Always just follow up afterwards with the solution, right? Interviewing is a numbers game. You're not going to go out there and smash it every single time, right? This is something that you want to follow up with afterwards. What if they want the indices in a certain order? That's actually a good question to ask. Like, is there a certain order I should be returning these indices? Should I be sorting them in some way? That's something that probably came up as we were looking at the examples, right? A good follow-up question to ask. Cool. All right. So we feel comfortable with what's coming in, what's going out. We have some good examples. We've got the interviewer loose. They're talking. They're answering our questions. We're feeling good. Let's do the strategy that we saw before. And so we're going to say, we're going to create a function. We're going to call this function called find target indices in array. That would be a little bit too much. I feel like that's flexing a little. We'll just say find target. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we talked about before, where we're going to call find target, and we're going to pass in our examples from up top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and paste it down below. Cool. All right, so now we have 3 of them, but let's put in our actual numbers here. This was 5, 6, and 9. And this last one was 22, 7, 105. Chat, what's one thing that you've noticed about the entire time I've been solving this problem? And you might think it's just because I'm streaming, but it's not. What's one thing that you have noticed this entire time? Can anybody maybe guess what I'm thinking in chat here? Whew. Outer space called it. Yeah, first. I have literally not stopped talking this entire time. Every single thought I have thought out loud. 3D said eye contact. Yep, I'm gonna keep coming back to look at you in the eyes, right? I have not stopped talking this entire time. Just develop. Hey, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. That's a good one. All right, I've not stopped talking this entire time. You want all the thoughts to be going out there to your interviewer. You want them to be engaging with you. Don't stop talking. Don't let your interviewer get bored. I can't tell you how many times you're interviewing somebody and it's the 3rd interview of the day and they're doing one of these. Oh yeah, carry the 5 and the 4 and then the 4 goes to the 6 and then oh that wouldn't work. Oh god, that wouldn't work. Oh. And they're not talking to you. They're not engaging with you. They're like all up against the whiteboard, or like the worst is when you're like doing an interview virtually and they're doing this like over their keyboard and they're not engaging you with all. So keep talking out loud, keep engaging your interviewer, try and make the eye contact, try to get them answering your questions. Literally don't shut up. Cool. The big reason is if you're saying all this out loud, they're going to correct you. Like if you're going down a wild tangent, they at least know how you got there and they can help. You should go into your interviewers with the idea that they want to help you. Cool. All right. The last trick that we saw too before was to wrap these in console logs. I just like to do that so that I can put the lovely target number here at the end. And it's going to put a string here. So this will just be, what was our response here? 3, 4. And I'm not actually trying to get a string. I'm going to try to get the array. It's just so that the console log looks clear. Yeah, so this was 0, 1. And the last thing I'm going to do down here is I'm going to do my last one, and I'm going to do 1, 3. And like I said, I know that I'm returning an actual array here. I think it looks neater in the console log. Cool. So I'm putting these down here as our test cases so that when we're done solving the problem, we'll just be able to click run and we should be able to see if what we did was working. Cool. And we need to pass in our targets exactly. So we're going to pass in 9 for this one. We're going to pass in 11 for this one. And we're going to pass in 12 for this one. Great. So it looks like we hit everything. You notice I didn't have my targets in there. The cool thing is I do this a lot in interviews where I set this up. And my last question is, does this look good? Does it look like this would work? And if you've built that rapport, they'll be like, oh, you forgot your target. And you're like, oh, of course, I forgot my target. You plug it in. But if you're a person that's been quiet the whole interview, right, and you haven't engaged them, you haven't gotten them talking, they're not going to want to help you. Some of you in chat, like, literally wanted to, like, Arasi wanted to help me, right? Like, I've been engaging, right? They've been engaging. They want to help me. Cool. All right. Is there anything here that's missing or doesn't look correct at the moment? Bob's like, it looks good. All right. Let's go ahead. Help me out, chat. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a string, but true. There we go. Cool. Alrighty. So I feel good. We know what's coming in. We know what's going out. We have some great examples. We built out our test cases. Let's actually start writing this function. And I'm gonna do some pseudocode first, if you don't mind. I'm gonna put a parameter for the array, and I'm gonna put a parameter for the target. Great. So, come on, Bob. How'd you miss that? Bob, you're slipping. All right. So I'm looking at this problem. And I know that I have to find two numbers that add up to the target. And the solution that comes immediately to mind is a brute force solution, where I am just going to use some simple for loops to grab numbers, add them together, and see if it works. Now, I'm going to do this to get a win on the board. Like, I just want to make sure we have something that works. As we have time, we'll optimize. But for now, I want to get a win on the board. I'm going to use a brute force solution. Let's just get this working, and then if we have time, or if you want, I can try and optimize. I actually don't like that. I'm gonna retract that. I'm gonna say, let's get some points on the board. I want to get a solution that works. I wouldn't say anything about optimizing yet. I just want to get something that works, and we'll take it from there. Cool. Okay. I think the easiest thing to do is to loop once, grabbing one number, and then loop through the array again, testing all the other numbers. So I'm going to have an outer loop, grabbing a num, and then I'm going to have an inner loop testing that num with all the other nums. If the two nums added equal the target, then I should just return those numbers indices. Those nums indices. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to have an outer loop grabbing a number, and then an inner loop testing that number against all the other numbers. And if at any point my outer number and my inner number add up to the target, I'm just going to return the indices of those two numbers, and that'll be it. We'll stop at the return. Does that sound like a good brute force attempt at this problem? Bob's saying yes. So let's just get that on the board. Let's try these two for loops, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to have my outer loop. I'm just going to have a lovely for loop. And inside my for loop, I'm going to set up my variable, let I equal, we're going to start off at 0. And then I am going to compare I and let it run until, as long as we are less than array.length. And you did say that you wanted to call the array nums. I do remember you saying that early on. So instead of calling this array, we're going to call this nums. I do remember you saying you wanted to call the array nums. Let's follow that request and call this nums. So I have my for loop starting off at 0. I am going to let that loop run for the length of the array. And each time that this runs, we are going to add 1 to I. So that's my internal loop. Sorry, my external loop, or my outer loop. And what I want to do is have an internal for loop. So that inner loop that we're going to test the outer number by the inner number. And so just to kind of verbalize this again, like in this case, I would have 1, and then I'm going to compare 2, 3, 4, 5 to it. And then I'll move to 2, and I'll compare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to it. Then I'll move to 3, and I'll compare 1, 2, 4, 5 to it. And then I would have saw that 3 and 4 didn't add up, so I keep going. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would saw 4 and 5 added up to 9, and I would have just grabbed the indices of those two numbers. So that's what I'm thinking through here. We have the outer loop. Let's get this inner loop going, and then we can test. Cool. So I'm going to just go ahead and follow some simple for syntax here. The interesting thing is that since I'm inside the other loop, I can't reuse the same variable. So let's just use another variable. We'll call it k. Once again, we're going to do the same thing, setting it up to 0. And the same thing for k, we're going to go while we are less than the length of the array. And we're going to just add 1 to k each time. So now we have an outer loop that's going slower with an inner loop that's testing all the other numbers. That achieves kind of what we just talked about. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense that we're going to have an outer loop and an inner loop that can test all the numbers compared to the outer loop number? Bob's shaking his head. Cool. Chat saying yes and yep. All right. Cool. All right. So there we go. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to test those numbers to see if they actually do what they're supposed to. If they add up to that lovely target. So I'm just going to do some very simple conditional logic here. I'm going to do an if. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, well, I have this outer number called I. So that's how I can get that. I can get like I's going from 0 to 1 with the index. So I can use that number as an index to grab the value out of the nums array. So I'm going to say if nums I, like that number using the I as the index, if that plus nums k, which should give me the other like internal number, so if those are equal to the target. So if that equals the target, I am actually running. So I think we're almost there, but I actually have another question that just came up as I'm getting here. I think this is correct. I think like we're gonna grab the outer number and add it to the inner number, and I'm just gonna compare them to the target. But there's something I actually didn't clarify in evaluating the numbers in the index. Telescope got it. Can the number add it to itself equal a target? Like not two separate numbers? Just want to clarify. You're asking for two separate numbers, not the same number added to itself. Cool. All right. So I can just throw a little test in here for that. I think in the way the question is set up, there might be some wiggle room. So let's just put a clarifier in here, and we might remove it if the parameters of the question allow it to be removed. So I'm just going to make sure that my indices aren't equal, because if my indices are not equal, then I know I'm not using that same number. Does that make sense, Bob? Like I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not grabbing the same number twice. Cool. All right, Bob's shaking his head. Great. So in this scenario, if the number from the outer loop plus the number from the inner loop equals the target, and it's not the same number, like the same index, then we should have the correct numbers. So we're not going to return the numbers, though. The problem asks us to return the indices. And the cool thing is we already have I and K, which are the indices. Right? All right. So we don't have to do anything extra or fancy. We actually already have the indices. So I feel like we hit on some good stuff here. Let's test it and see if we're close. All right. So we were expecting 3 and 4. We got it. We're expecting 0 and 1. We got it. We're expecting 1 and 3. And we got it. So the code that we wrote here solves all the examples that we wrote out. And we got a win on the board. So we solved the problem here. Is there anything that you feel that I am missing from this problem? No. And you're saying, oh, it could be a little bit faster. That's true. So we've been doing this I do know that we have a tight schedule here. We have a schedule 45 minutes for the question. I do know that there is a way to optimize, right? I do know that there is a way to optimize this problem to be a little bit more efficient. We have less than 10 minutes here. And so I would love to try and optimize the problem with you. But on the off chance that we run out of time, and I'm sorry, I do have to jump to another interview right after this. If we do run out of time, I will definitely follow up via email with a more elegant solution, since you're asking for us to do it in a more efficient way. Boom. That's it, folks. So we saw two different strategies here. The first strategy was the method strategy, where you're going to run into problems that are just because you can solve the problem using your methods. The next solution we saw is the evolution on that, where you're going to solve the problem in a brute force way. You saw me spend like 15, 17 minutes on just prep both times. Please. I don't care if you've seen the problem before. I don't care if you have no idea how you're going to solve the problem. Still take that time to walk through prep. It will be the difference between you building that rapport, and even if it goes completely sideways, you still might get that vote to continue. I have had interviews where I have not solved the problem, but I walked through the entire prep. I talked out loud the entire time. I built that rapport with my interviewer. I got comfortable. I cracked a few jokes. That interviewer still recommended me to the next round. They could see my thought process. They could see the things that I was thinking through. They saw that I had a logical approach to solving these problems, and they made the assumption that if given more time, I could have solved it. For a few of them, that wasn't true. But what they saw was somebody that was cool, calm, collected, having fun, that they could actually work with, that got close, and then followed up immediately via email with the actual solution afterwards. That's it, folks. That's what you got to do. So we saw methods, we saw brute force, and the third thing that we're going to talk about is, all right, with some interviews, they're going to ask you to enhance your brute force solution, make it more efficient in terms of what we call space and time complexity, right? And that's what we want to get to. We're not there yet. We don't know how to solve this problem more efficiently yet, because we haven't really studied our data structures or algorithms yet. So that's what we're going to introduce tonight. We're going to introduce data structures. We're going to introduce what they are, what algorithms are. We're going to use the same terminology that came from the Scotch IO course, which all of you should have done hopefully by now. It was time for homework a couple of times. So we're going to use that same language to kind of get some spaced repetition in. And then once we understand our data structures a little bit better, we can come back to these problems and more efficiently solve them. But I don't care if out the gate you know how to more efficiently solve something. You should still walk through the steps we did and probably still start with the brute force algorithm. Get the brute force algorithm on the board, have it working, and then wow them with your ability to make it more efficient. Questions? Yeah, Knox with the hash map. So, should we bring our interviewer snacks to keep them engaged? Couldn't hurt. You can't be you gotta be smooth with it. Izzy, we're gonna come back to this one to make it more efficient once we actually understand how to make it more efficient. If the job you're interviewing for isn't necessarily the JavaScript stack, should you leave it at brute force or say something like, well, in JavaScript, there are methods I could do this with? Yeah, that's up to you and your interviewer on how what they're looking for there. A lot of times for a lot of companies, even if the language they're going to use is different, they still might let you interview in the language you feel most comfortable with. So it's up to you. Especially bigger companies. Bigger companies really don't care what language you use during the interview. They trust that if you can do it in one language, you can pick up the other. And remember, for entry-level roles, for entry-level software engineering roles, they really don't care what stack you learned, but how quickly you can pick up their stack and their way of doing things. You heard that on Tuesday from Juan and Monica. Like the stack Monica's going to be working on, they had never touched before getting that offer. Right? Because doesn't matter. Right? Doesn't matter. They trust that you can learn quickly. If you can do it in one language, you can pick up the other one. Whew. Yeah, pretty much. Exactly, Zabby. JavaScript is my primary language. Can I use that instead? Yeah. I can definitely solve this in JavaScript, and that's what I'm going to use unless you need me to do it otherwise. All right. Any other questions before we continue? All right. I think somebody asked for a break before moving on. I think that's not a bad idea. We took the other break a little bit early, so let's keep it going. So let's go ahead. Let's do our 5-minute break. When we come back from our break, we're going to be talking about like, all right, so we now know how to solve it with methods. We know how to solve it brute force. How can we get to a place where we can solve our questions a little bit more eloquently or a little bit more efficiently? So let's go and put 5 minutes on the clock here, folks. Gonna put some chill break music on here. All right. Break music is on. Let the timer go. Zovek, hey, hope you're doing well. All right, folks, if you're able, please take a break. We're here to be healthy. We're in this for the long haul. Go, stretch if you're able to. Let your eyes relax on something far away. I'm hearing the music for some reason. Do y'all hear the music? Tonight's been a little funky. No? Huh. Oh, there we go. That's weird. I don't know what happened. There we go. That should be working now. All right, folks. We got 4 minutes. Please take a break. Anybody been doing something fun for summer? Anybody done some summer activities now that we're in June? While we take a break? What have y'all been up to? Anybody go to the beach yet? Get some sun? Grab some water. Went to Six Flags. Yo, turn up. Took the kids when it was 100 degrees. That's wild. Went to Universal. Hey, I got that. I got the pass now. I got the pass for my birthday, so I got to go back soon. The Hogsmeade at Universal LA, fire. They had the best, like the best food, best vegan like food I've had at like an amusement park ever, or like any like not place you would ever expect the food to be. They had like this bomb vegetable plate. I love it. So much stuff we didn't get to see though. I got to go back again soon. Going backpacking, that's cool. Did Vegas before the heat wave. I've been staying inside and learning JavaScript, Izzy. Hey, turn up. Sheena, did you go to Universal in Orlando? I think, yeah, right? Somebody's from Orlando, so that would make more sense. Nicholas posted a note from his experience with the recruiter and Mega Month interviews. They spilled the beans nearly word for word what you're explaining right now. Hey, wonderful. That's good to hear. Let's see if I can pull that up. Wait, there's an outside. That's how I felt. This past 2 weeks, that's what it's been like. Are we going an extra hour tonight? Oh. Whoopsie. I don't know why I thought we were on hour 2. I got. It's been a minute since we've been on Twitch.
You got
the wrong number. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't realize it. It went. For some reason my brain was like, it's been 2 hours. Let's go. We'll grind. We won't go extra, but we'll take the next 15 minutes or so. Yeah, we'll take the full time, but we won't go over. I don't know why. I just had in my brain we had an extra hour still. Time flies when you're having fun. You stay in beast mode. Let's go. I think that was my fault. I was thinking you needed a break after the. Yeah. Thanks. There you go. Everybody blaming. No. No, that's what I think it was. I think because we wanted another break, I got twisted. That's funny. I literally asked when he said halfway through 2 hours in. Yeah, that's funny. You just missed us and didn't want us to go. That's true. I really did. Y'all showed up on Remo. That was wild. Almost 200 people on Remo. Let's go. It might have hit 200. I know it was pretty close. But yeah. All right, folks. Come on back. Any chance we can get a drunk Leon stream? Y'all don't want that. That's on the OnlyFans for sure. I'm sure. Oh, that'd be. I like to be responsible on this stream, so we'd have to definitely put a warning before he did it. But it'd be really funny to do a Code Wars ladder, where after each Code Wars you do a shot, like Flip Cup, but with Code Wars, and it's you versus someone else, and after each one you get right, you have to do a shot. And you see who can get to the end first. All right, we'll make it happen. If people are down to do that, I think that'd be a fun game night. Not responsible, but I think it'd be funny. Sign me up. All right. So I'm real mad. I thought we had a whole other hour. I thought we had an hour. You know what? Thank you for that. Really do. Thank you. I really do. This is so much fun. I can't tell you how fun this is to be able to engage with you all, to do these lessons, these lectures with you. Chat holds it down. This is always goes above and beyond my expectations. And so thank you for making this really, really fun. I always get nervous before I give any classes, always. In my mind, I'm this is going to be terrible. It's never going to go well. And as soon as I click go live and I see y'all in chat, that all disappears. every single class I've ever given. I talked about this in the past before, but like I always think every single time, like, no, it's like that voice that you have in your head that says that. So every single time I get really anxious right up until we do it, and as soon as I click live and I see y'all in chat, it goes away every single time. So like I'm at the point now where like I know that like the things that I'm thinking and feeling, like as soon as I click go live, that goes away. So thank you for that, because this community is amazing. Y'all, the way that you all show up, that you help each other, that you continue to come out on at the end of your days or the beginning of your days and put in all that work. I definitely see it, and I appreciate you all. I really do. All right. So we did our methods. We did our brute force. What we want to go over is data structures and algorithms. And so this idea is that we are going to learn ways of organizing our data. Bobby Lynn, hey, thank you for the gifted subs. I appreciate that. We had a lot of gifted subs tonight. Can we just do like a wall of emotes for all the folks that got gifted subs and for folks that gave out the gifted subs, please? I appreciate you all. I'm gonna throw mine in here. I'm gonna throw some bobs in here, some styling bobs. There we go. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. All right. So, thank you for the emote spam. I appreciate it. Cool. So we saw that we could solve with methods. We saw that we can do a brute force. We want to start adding some other things into our coding repertoire that'll make it so we can more efficiently solve our problems. And this is going to come down to data structures and algorithms. I give this kind of disclaimer that your data structures and algorithms would definitely be something that you're actively recalling. All right, watch Ali Abdal's video if you've never seen this slide. I don't know where you must be brand new, but watch this video if you haven't watched it before. And if you already know about active recall and you're not doing it, definitely do it for this algorithmic work. We have the Showstopper class on Thursday, adding another really brilliant piece to your portfolio that's going to help you stand out in the jobs, right? The job interviews. Then we're going to do a little bit more React, but the whole time you're working on your data structures and algorithms, right? And so you need to be actively recalling these things. You need to be resetting your forgetting curve, right? No worry, Bobby, I was pulling you. And you need to be putting these things into your Anki, into your space repetition tool. So as we start adding more data structures, we start adding more algorithms into our toolbox, please make sure you're actively recalling the things that you learn and that you're resetting your forgetting curve by using a tool like Anki. Like you're throwing these into your Anki and you're bringing them back. If you haven't been doing Anki recently, it's time to bring it back. Having these prepped is going to make it so you feel way more comfortable in interviews. Everything we're going to talk through tonight, you should have read already in the Scotch.io course. If you haven't, it's actually linked in the slides, and I'll link it after class as well. But we have about 6 minutes left. Let's see how far we can get. These slides are actually pretty descriptive. So you can actually kind of just like read these slides and it's okay. And we will finish up next week. So like next Tuesday, we'll finish up these slides. So the important thing here, I keep talking about these algorithms and these data structures, and whenever I say an algorithm, and this is going to make some people violently shake, the nerds are shaking. I'm just talking about like a function. That's all I'm talking about. When I say algorithm, I'm just talking about a function. And this function is going to transform some input, right, into some other output. And this function is going to take that initial input, that data is going to be structured in some way. We're going to call that a data structure, right? Whether it is an array like we saw, a number like we saw, right? There's some way of structuring that data that's going in as an input. And that function or that algorithm is going to give us an output that's some other data structure. It could be the same as the input, like it could be an array, it could be a number, it could be something else. But the idea when people are talking about data structures and algorithms, they're really just talking about a function that takes in some type of data and spits out some type of data. That's it. That's all we're really talking about. And there are efficient data structures, like ways of like keeping your data together. And there are efficient functions that do the work of changing that input to the output. And these are things that you can commit to memory. These are things that you can bring into practice as you're writing your code. To kind of synthesize it, that function, that algorithm contains all the logic that decides the transformation of the input to the output. So when we're talking about data structures and algorithms, we're talking about organizing our data and creating a function that takes something in and spits something out. That's it. That's it. You saw today when I was doing my examples that I made sure that I had test cases for everything that I was running. And so if you know your inputs and your outputs, it's easy to build these tests that you can then compare your actual code you're writing to. To walk through and better understand kind of what the heck I'm talking about, I really, 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 really encourage you, if you haven't, to read through the Scotch.io course. They use this example of a library that I think is one of the best examples I've ever heard for like actually thinking through like what a data structure is and like what an algorithm is. I've simplified their example into something I think is a little bit more approachable, but everything I'm about to say, the idea comes from them. So you've already had to do it for homework, but this is like me giving them credit and shouting them out because they have some amazing tutorials. And I think the way they explain things were really helpful. Cool. A library contains a bunch of data structures. We have books, we have magazines, we have CDs, we have DVDs, we have Blu-rays. And if your library's lit, they might have like video games, like the Boston Public Library. You could get video games, you can get all this other stuff from it, right? So a library contains many different data structures that we're used to. We know what a book is, we know what a magazine is, right? And it makes sense that if your data is a bunch of text, then you would probably use a book to hold it, right? It just like, Leon, you have a bunch of text, you would say, oh, well, throw that text in a book, right? That just makes sense. A book holds text data, right? If your data was a bunch of low quality video, it would make sense to use a DVD. Now, would there be a way to encode the video into a book? Yes, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? The example I like to give is a flip book, right? Technically, a flip book is a book, and that flip book is a good representation of your video, but is it the most efficient data structure for video content? You'd probably much rather use a DVD or a Blu-ray, right? Like we could take individual stills of our video, put it in a massive flip book, and that would technically work, but that's not the best data structure to use in this scenario. And that's kind of the core idea of what we're going to get at. There are going to be many ways to represent our data, but some of them are going to be better than others. And at first, you really don't have or really don't know all the data structures that are at your disposal. So think about somebody that's trying to put together video content, but has no idea that a VHS or a DVD or a Blu-ray exists, right? They just know that I can take individual stills, make a flip book, I can put it in that spinny horse thing, and I can watch the movie. But they have no idea that like DVDs, Blu-rays, or that other stuff exists. That's where we're at right now. You all have enough knowledge to brute force your problems. But there's this whole other wide world of data structures and common algorithms that are going to make the code you write way more optimal, way more efficient. And so that's what we're going to get to. We're going to get to this idea that a DVD is probably better than a flip book. And there are some data structures that are going to be better for the certain problems we're working on. And there are going to be some off-the-shelf algorithms that we can use, like these functions that have been tried and tested that are really good at turning one input into a different output. So that's where we're going to stop for tonight. I want you to get that idea in your head, though, that like we saw a brute force. There's better ways to do it. And the better ways to do it often have a lot to do with our data structures and algorithms knowledge. And so as we get to the end of program and we're getting to the point where we are going to be interviewing, it's time for us to learn about this other wild world, right? So that we can write more efficient code, not only for ourselves and our future employers, but also to get us through these interviews. Because like I said, you're going to have some interviews that are going to just be methods. You're going to have some interviews that are going to just be brute force, and that's okay. And then you're going to have some where they're going to ask you to evaluate, did you use the right data structure? Did you use the right algorithms? And that's what we're going to work on. Now, before we do a raid and you want those channel points are getting juicy, folks. We're getting close to this OnlyFans stuff. Before we do a raid, once again, I just wanted to highlight that Thursday, you don't want to miss Thursday's class. Microsoft is sponsoring. We're popping off again. Azure credit, raffles out the wazoo. We're giving away another laptop and some other prizes I haven't even announced to you yet. They're huge. And we are going to build a portfolio showstopper that you can tweak to really blow the socks off of any interviewer. They see this project that you've tweaked to be for them, and they're going to be like, we have to hire this person. That's what we're doing on Thursday. Shout out to Microsoft for coming back and sponsoring again. We're going to do that on Thursday. We're probably going to finish that up on Friday as well. And then we're going to have our normal office hours on Sunday. So make sure you're here on Thursday. Make sure you come back here on Friday. You don't want to miss this for your portfolio. Tell a friend. Bring a friend. Say, hey, we're going to be building this cool thing for our portfolio. Let them know what we're up to over here. All right, so let's go ahead and do a raid here, folks. It's been a while since we've done a good raid here. So let's go ahead and do a lovely raid, and we'll call it. It's been good to be back on Twitch, folks. Sorry we ran out of a little time here, but it's good seeing you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Let's go ahead and do our lovely raid here. Let's go ahead and say hi to Splash. All right, they're working on an old React and Node project. That's cool. Let's go ahead and send them a raid. Get your lovely channel points for participating in the raid. All right, we're queuing it up. It's been lovely having you all, folks. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be hanging out in the raid as well. So get your channel points, come on over with us, and have a wonderful night. I'll see you all on Thursday. Peace.